How fun. Okay, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 456. The Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, a manufactured trope. This is from, let me just check the date of this. It's from The Take, came out October of last year. And if you guys don't remember The Take, we covered them a few times already. They are a group of two women, I believe, who are either rich beyond their dreams and they have nothing better to do with the time. So they espouse feminist-leaning ideas. The problem is it just goes a little too far at times. Their interpretation of patterns in storytelling, like tropes, are just bizarre. And
it's called lies.
I don't know if they're lying or they just think crazy things and they run with it. Because
both can be true.
The very topic today, that's a lie. That this is a manufactured trope.
Yeah,
crazy ex-girlfriends do exist. They don't even need to be ex-girlfriends.
Yeah,
they can just be obsessed with you.
Yeah, that doesn't really
They're
matter
crazy people.
because the trope itself is fairly small. I have barely seen it in storytelling, and it's, it could be applied to men as well. So it's usually the men are a little more violent and crazy. The women are a bit more conniving and I just thought of one from Parks and Rec, the ex-wives of Ron Swanson. They're all sort of crazy in their own light and always trying to flirt with him and get him back, and he's always trying to avoid them.
I think I didn't watch that far because I couldn't stand the main character.
There was a main character in Parks?
The woman.
Oh, okay.
The really unfunny woman.
I only see clips on YouTube, but I think I've seen pretty much the whole show. Just watching clips.
Swanson is amazing.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious.
I would have continued watching if there were more scenes with him and less with the unbearable, unfunny woman.
Yeah, you take all the concept of an American or libertarianism and just throw them to this guy who just wants to destroy government. It's so funny. He just tries to do nothing at work, so he makes the government incompetent and he does silly stuff. But then they take his character and his real life job, which is woodworking, and they have him bring that in to the show. I thought that was hilarious. So anyway, this video
you think that character is fictional?
There's many elements of things which are fictional. Like, he's not actually a libertarian. He has some libertarian leanings. He's more liberal than libertarian. And then they take actual things he knows, like woodworking.
No. I mean, if you work in government, civil service, or however you call it in English, there are some of these people. They just want to see the shit burn, and they know they can't be fired.
I see what you're saying. So they have the golden shackles. They just never leave.
Another thing, society usually takes male psychopathy, I said that wrong, more serious. So they're usually handled.
Yeah, it's people who had ideals at some. They're not the type of that. They're not the what you think is corrupt people. They're just completely disillusioned people, and
they're mad.
Went to the. I don't care if shit burns down. You destroyed my life. All this shit is impossible to repair. Nobody actually gives a shit. I'll just make your life hell now because I can.
Okay.
So like,
goodbye.
So like a third of comic book villains.
No. They just want to blow stuff up or destroy stuff because they can. Is that it?
I mean, hell, Darkseid. All Darkseid wants is a damn math equation.
Well, yeah, but he's like the embodiment of destruction. Like, he just wants to just destroy the universe or whatever. Like, he's on the next.
Not destroy. He believes that he is bringing order.
Oh, really?
Yes, and yes, he believes he's bringing order and is searching for the anti-life equation to accomplish that goal.
Yes, by taking away free will, there will be just order.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up like at face value. He just wants a damn math equation.
I see. Okay. Well,
yeah,
but there's some of these terms like the smiler. This is a CIA term, one of many that they have for various types of people who act in specific ways and have very strange drives, and they categorize them with these terms. To know how they can use whom. And all of them exist in some way. Some more obvious than others. Like the Smiler is someone who is a bit of a troll. And he will always think that with whatever he does and whatever he tells you, that he's teaching you something. So even when he's bullying you, when he's sabotaging you, he does so with a smile and he hopes you learn from it. I know someone like that. And it is a very smart guy. Has absolutely no comprehension of how the human psyche works, yet is at the same time very manipulative and very trollish. And he always thinks he's teaching you something. He always has this sheepish grin of what you would expect a real troll that is not driven by negative emotions is like more of a neutral sadist. These super weird people, they do exist. And yeah, and you have this, the Ron Swanson exists in government somewhere, on some low-level, mid-level management. He does exist.
All right. Anyway, that's a little off to the side we were talking about. This video has about, let me see, 120,000 views, and it comes in about 20 minutes. So it shouldn't take us too long to go through it.
And it probably has more than one upvote.
Really?
I would guess so.
More than one upload? Oh, upvote. Yes.
Upvote.
Yeah, it's a fairly positive video. It's 6.2 thousand upvotes and only 156 downvotes.
Oh god, yeah. That's too few downvotes.
We gotta see. Maybe they just list a bunch of tropes or patterns they see in various shows. Because again, I don't know this trope very well. But
yeah, but they're also already wrong on that it's manufactured. It's based on real life experiences, because the crazy ex-girlfriend is not a rare Pokemon like Ron Swanson. It is one of the most common things to come across in real life. All
right. Okay. Anyway, let's get started. Everyone's in the watch together, I believe. Yes, they are. Okay, here we go.
I am officially medically certifiably quote-unquote crazy.
The crazy ex-girlfriend is every guy's greatest fear. She comes out of nowhere, hell-bent on stirring up drama and ruining her ex's chances at new happiness without her. The pop culture version of the crazy ex can be terrifying, irritating, or genuinely in crisis. But countless movies and shows present this emotionally distressed woman without context as to the circumstances that got her there.
Oh,
does it
we're
really
not being
matter
told
if you're
that
trying
she
to hurt
had a
another
narcissistic or borderline personality disorder? Oh,
gee, I wonder why she's nuts. I wonder why she's angry. I wonder why she's violent. Is it important?
Because she can't deal with rejection.
Yeah, this is
she
not.
Can't deal with being dumb.
This is not the focus of the narrative.
She is obsessed. Yeah, but those crazy ex-girlfriends that only exist to ruin your life at this point. They want you to suffer because you hurt their egos by turning them down.
Right. This is not hard. This is not difficult. It's not. We don't need a backstory. We just need to know they're called the X because they used to be together.
There usually isn't a backstory.
Yeah,
these women have a personality disorder. Nobody else is so bloody insane to do any of this. Because that's the point. It's insane.
Now, they could have insight.
It's not rational behavior.
They could have insight into women saying this is not realistic because most women have many more options for a partner. They wouldn't be obsessed over one guy. What's the point? They'd get on with their lives.
That would be rational.
Well, that's what I mean. Like
these are not rational actors. They're purely emotional actors.
Well, that's why we're looking.
They're emotionally immature.
No, but that's why we're looking to fiction, because what they do with this trope, at least in the stories that I'm familiar with, it's usually a romantic comedy or a drama, and it's played like, oh, she's crazy, just leave her alone. It's not a big deal. It's always something off to the side to fill in some backstory or to provide a sense of conflict for the existing plot, which is the lead male or the other male, the other female is trying to hook up with the other main character. So it's always just a minor conflict of a major story. It's never the focus.
Also, they would never give this excuse for abusive ex-male, a man ex.
Yeah, who keeps stalking the woman.
Yeah, it's the same idea. It's always played for, this this dude's crazy. Okay, he's going to be violent. Yeah, he's a jock, whatever. It's more
when
along
it's a
those
girl,
lines.
it's funny. When it's the guy doing it, it's creepy and dangerous, and he should be ostracized and probably flayed alive or something.
Along those lines. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Buffy the Vampire Slayer did that.
Really? I don't remember because I didn't really watch it, but...
Well, the series did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Girls obsessed, it's funny. Guys obsessed, they get flayed alive.
And they turn into a vampire and try and eat you or something like that.
No.
Not with Angel and...
They don't get... The characters that are not main characters in the series that get turned always die.
Oh, I see.
The main characters were all turned for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, there are some love stories in there, but it's not that type.
The only thing I can think of was the Angelus storyline where Angel finds true love or whatever, and he reverts back to being that crazy psycho vampire because he fell in love with Buffy, and that is at least its own storyline, so it's not just some random thing. That is a bit more obviously fantastical, and you have a
but he wasn't obsessed with Buffy after turning back to Psycho Angel.
I don't remember how that resolved itself, but it's not, it's Joss Whedon.
They just redid the spell that cursed him.
Yeah, something like that.
That's
magical.
That's
yeah.
So, God, I hate that. I watched that
At
entire
what
fucking
point
series.
is,
So bad.
it doesn't actually matter the reasonings anymore. You're doing more harm than was done to you.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter regardless.
Yeah. Well, It depends on the breakup of how it went. There's all these wonderful details. It's a minor plot.
The lengths to which crazy women go to punish the other is never proportionate. Never.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had encounters with crazy girls that thought they were rejected by me when that hadn't even come up. I didn't even know they wanted something of me. And I sent people to beat me up. I'm not kidding. The girl responsible admitted it later to me. That she told her dumb friends some bullshit that made them beat me up. But since I had no witness for that and no recording, well, I couldn't go to the police for that.
Oh.
But these people are crazy. Fuck. Seriously crazy. And that one in particular was a strong case of borderline personality disorder, to the point where I know that she had been in the closed ward of the local clinic because before all this shit happened, someone convinced me to visit her there once, and I did. That's how I know she was there, definitely.
Okay.
And I let these people out, and everybody just makes excuses for these people.
All right.
When they should stay in the closed ward.
Stay there forever. Okay.
Yes.
Seriously. Here's Angel Rin 89. Thanks for the 5. As a female, I am sick of people trying to downplay female character flaws. Women are not perfect. Get over it, feminists. I want to know their take because they seem to understand this trope as being, kind of weird.
I bet they're getting to. They will say that, real women aren't like that at all, and that this is completely fictional. Probably in part because they want to play down their own behaviors that do get into this direction. Right. Because that's usually the case where I see feminists. That usually I guesstimate 95% of feminists, the activists definitely have at least a narcissistic personality disorder. And that means they see themselves as perfect. That means they see all their behaviors justified at all times, no matter who gets hurt. And when you mention to them the abusive behavior of another narcissistic woman, she does not know, she will defend that woman on principle, not just because it's a woman, but because she hears her own behavior told back to her when you don't know that she's doing that herself, and she will then think, I'm doing that. But the things I do can't be bad, and they're always justified, so the behaviors of that woman must also be justified. So you are at fault. You who complain about the behavior of this abusive woman. It's your fault, and then the narcissistic woman will gaslight you.
All right.
That's usually what happens.
Let's see what's going on here.
Framing her merely as an unpredictable liability and a problem that has to be eliminated. The crazy ex-girlfriend is a specter, sometimes even a literal ghost, that also haunts women, perhaps even more intimately, as they strive not to be compared to her.
I wonder what she's thinking about you. Taking her
Wants to be compared to a psychopath.
using her name.
The age-old myth of the distraught ex-girlfriend who desperately pines for or violently rampages against her lost partner reflects the belief that women are more codependent than men in romantic relationships, even though research shows no link between gender and codependence.
Okay, she doesn't know what codependency means. The obsessive narcissist is usually not a dependent type, but the controlling type. But codependence has two elements, but when we speak of the codependent, we usually talk about the weaker element of it, and that is usually in this case, in this circumstance, not a woman, the man she's looking for. She's looking for a weak man to control.
Yeah, this is.
And the worst thing the weak man that he tries to control, a weak and vulnerable one, because maybe it was just a bad time in his life, and the controlling, narcissistic, or psychopathic woman is then absolutely offended that when the weak man tries to regain his strength again, be himself again.
This is dependent.
She takes that as a complete slight against her.
Right, but we're talking about
and that must be punished.
What nature of dependence is it? Is it financial? Is it social? Is it psychological? Like, what is going on here? Who's being measured and for what factors?
When we're talking about codependence, it's a psychological.
I'm assuming psychological, but women could just be pissed off because there was a rich guy and he let her go, and she's like pining for him and always nagging him because whatever. So I don't know. There's lots of reasons here, and to just summarize it as codependence, you're like, because they have a power struggle, they're trying to one up each other. They want to be the master of the house. Like what?
No. It's usually, I would say, with the crazy ex-girlfriend types. Those are the controlling types, and at least that's what I would say from experience. Or the ones that want to be the controlling types, while playing the weak and soft and emotionally supporting ones, when all they do is buzzsaw through your support.
Right, because
at the same time,
if you have a male telling the female, "Hey, we're broken up. I don't want to see you anymore," and he does it in a very friendly, gentle way, she's going to still see the opportunity to say hello and meet with him, and expect that there could be another chance for a relationship when he wasn't as strong and definitive as he should have been because of his personality, which encourages her to be whatever. So that might be a possibility, but it's very this is very specific. And
I would say if we're talking about men that are this crazy ex stereotype, I would, again from personal experience, say that mostly befits the people who call themselves nice guys. The conniving, sniveling betas with no self-esteem.
They're still friends, but they don't want to be romantically involved or whatever.
They want to. They want to be romantically involved. They want to fuck every fucking day.
The men
still want the dick.
And they are jealous. They are jealous ex-boyfriends.
Oh, so
they will try to sabotage everything. They will try to insert themselves into everything.
Okay, I was under the impression they're just nice people, and they're just
what the fuck. No, you mean decent people. You have never heard about the nice guy trope?
This is the third time you're trying to correct me on this. I'm trying to be as understandable as possible.
Okay, smart. After the stream, please look up the nice guy. What that means. That's a specific type of man that is saying he's a nice guy and he's always courteous to women, but he always expects sexual favors in return.
Okay, see,
just for being a decent person.
I don't know if that's the Urban Dictionary or if that's the normaldictionary.com. I don't know, but that sounds a bit.
Oh, I don't know. I think the term is at least 10 years old at this point.
All right, I'll check out the
sadly,
dictionary.
these people do exist, and they seem to be the dominant type in the feminist sphere, in the male feminist sphere.
I'm just using the adjective and ascribing it to a noun. I'm not trying to make an actual phrase out of it. I'm just,
But
nice
when we're talking
person.
about this, the thing is, when we're talking about this whole relationship psychology stuff, then the term "nice guy" is a loaded term.
I know.
If you're just talking about decent people and just best say decent, it produces less confusion.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Here's the Fairly Cod parents. Oh, cool. Thank you. Look into the video's creator's lifeless, dead little eyes. You'll find the reason they made this video on the trope is because they don't like being called out. For real, they look like if Skylar White with Gary Busey's teeth. Okay. We've seen photos.
Yes.
We've seen photos of the two ladies. They've actually appeared on camera before. I think Whisp is saying, "Oh, this is the typical Californian rich housewife weirdos have nothing better to do with their time and just start making all these crazy videos about feminist topics, or they try to insert feminist ideology into here." So
they are the rich bourgeoisie they want to eat.
I guess I don't know about that. Okay, let's keep going here.
Oh, now this whole "the left eats itself" thing makes sense.
Well, I was.
Yes, you're not just kidding that.
I was making a joke about
God.
that with BreadTube because remember that, I don't know if Wisp was here for this, but we watched that female YouTuber who did fight choreography, and she like trained with wooden swords or whatever, and she talked about dresses and this and that. And
that's long ago.
Yeah, and she has some left-leaning.
1,000 years ago.
Yeah, she has some left-leaning. This was like with Shiny, what have you. She had some left-leaning ideology, and her left-leaning ideology was not left enough. It was turfy. So there's another BreadTuber attacking her.
Oh no!
It's like it's hilarious. I'm like, what did she do wrong? And all she does these days are shorts. Like, I don't know if you guys know YouTube Shorts. And they're basically 10 seconds to a minute long of videos. And she got like millions of views on a whole bunch of them. That's why her channel's so big now. And we could barely stand watching her. She's just so silly. Talking about the fight choreography in episode 8, how bad it was. Like, she loves it. So that's her. And she's getting attacked and eaten by the other parts of BreadTube, which I don't know how that works, but okay.
Yeah, because you're never pure enough, you're never correct enough, because every part of the socialists claims to be the correct part. And that means if you have the one that currently has more followers is gonna eat the others. It's like coral reefs under the sea.
I think it was turfy, so it had to do with transgenderism or whatever.
Yeah, it's ContraPoints had that exact same thing happen. Just musing about something on Twitter, and then immediately pedaled back because ContraPoints was almost destroyed by the left mob, and then just embrace the bullshit that ContraPoints doesn't even believe in. So even ContraPoints doesn't know I exist, but I have my beautiful ContraPoints content about the trans shit because it's utter bullshit. And there are some questionable things up there. The thing is, even ContraPoints, who just was musing about, I noticed this thing. That's odd between the old transsexuals and the nowadays weird kids. And just for noticing that, had a mob come after. Yeah. Just for noticing,
making an
not
observation,
even for any conclusion, just for noticing it. That was years ago.
So, hey, look at that, dead.
How dare you make that observation? You're a horrible person.
How dare you use your eyes?
That's how extreme this movement already was, and how powerful it already was years ago on the internet. If that doesn't scare you, nothing can scare you. You'll just be eaten alive without noticing it.
Twitter's kind of a joke to me, so I don't really care. Anyway,
it's not just Twitter.
It doesn't. Social media as a general communication tool is kind of
it's social media. It's just where social media is just where they organize the mobs. Where the effects happen is on other infrastructure. It's on your YouTube platform where they mass report you. It's on your Patreon thing. It's maybe your employer. It is your university. They make fake reports to the police about you and all of that shit. And if they do enough of that, some of it sticks. And they can turn your family against you if push comes to shove. That also happened.
Okay.
In cases.
Well, let's go.
I mean, I've never seen that happen though.
All right. It's okay. Let's go.
Tendency. And in reality, men are far more likely to resort to aggressive behavior after a breakup. So why is it that women are painted as...
So Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, she had like 6 or 7 boyfriends and girlfriends. So
6 men, 1 girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
the thing
Ramona Flowers is a good depiction of a almost functional borderline girl, but she is a borderline girl.
She's a whore.
The thing is,
yes, that's what usually borderline entails, because these girls have absolutely no self-restraint. They are unable to bind themselves to build proper relationships. They just build all they see in a relationship is eros, is sex. There's nothing else.
And then
there are no emotional bonds.
And then she finds the guy that has literally nothing to lose.
I'll also say,
Except
men are usually they may be aggressive, but women, they sneak their aggression. They do it behind and more like that. They're not usually openly physically aggressive.
Yeah,
that same damn movie shows that.
Yeah, and when women go violent, they go all out violent.
Yes.
And they are more likely to use tools in that, the next scissor that's lying around or whatever. And they're also more likely to poison their partners. And then when it comes out, they will just make up some story because the guy can't defend himself anymore anyway. And they will just play victim, say, oh, but he was doing this and that bad thing to me, when that wasn't even true. There are enough cases of just wanting to get his life insurance where she grew tired of her husband. Those stories happen every day, and that's the sad thing.
All right.
I even had when I had for the disability stuff some court evaluation where first the judge came here because I couldn't get to the court. It was very nice and great conversation. And after that, I had a second visit by someone on a lower rank that was like one level below her. Just as a confirmation thing and what the formalities were and so on. And that woman was, I would say, mid-40s feminist, old school feminist, and we got into that topic for a very short time, and she complained that, well, women still get. So yes, men get higher sentences on average, but she still thinks it's unjustified that women have to be incarcerated so often for murdering their husbands because they just have no other choice.
What?
And I thought, like, and they can't go to the women's shelters because yadi bloody da. And I made the calculations and thought, like, she said she's a feminist for 25 years. And I thought, like, that was the mid-90s. We had women's shelters in the mid-90s, especially West Germany. What is this woman talking about?
They must kill their husbands. There's no other option. Okay.
Yeah, and they should not be incarcerated for it. What the fuck?
All right.
Yeah, that's a woman working for the court.
Swell.
Feminists like to act like there was literally no rights that women had up until like 10 years ago.
Oh, according to her, they apparently still don't.
Well, shit.
They don't exist. We must keep fighting for these imaginary rights we don't have. All right, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or rights we already have.
All right.
One universally responding to uncoupling with quote-unquote insanity.
You won't answer my calls, you change your number. I mean, I'm not gonna be ignored, Dan.
Here's our take on what the crazy ex-girlfriend represents and why she doesn't really exist at all.
Oh, see? It's what I said.
It's all in her head.
If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about all our new videos.
Shitting.
A good
Ex-boyfriend doesn't
on-screen
exist.
scare can be really fun, especially in the lead up to Halloween. That's why we're excited
borderline
about Movie's
personality
October
disorder.
series, Thrills, Chills, and Exquisite Horrors.
I think
It
this
features
is-
iconic horror
Chilling.
movies from visionary directors like Nicholas
This
Winding
is
Refn and Ben
advertisement?
I
Wheatley.
guess.
can't wait to cozy up on the couch and watch them
Oh,
all.
yeah,
Sponsor, I
As a
think.
special gift
Logo.
to our viewers, Mubi
Oh,
is
it's
offering 30 days free. So
Mubi.
click the link in the description below to start streaming now. If you're anything like me, these days you're
What kind
going to
of
be
name is
totally
that?
uninspired and stuck when it comes to figuring out what
Stupid
to
one.
watch next. Subscribing to Mubi completely fixes that.
Okay.
Their
Fucking
trusted
shit.
creators handpicks
We
every
get
single
it.
show, so there's always something new to discover. They seriously love movies as much as we do, so their recommendations are always top-notch.
Okay. Is Mubi supposed to be a cutesy baby way of saying movie?
Well, there's a streaming
guess
service
so.
called Tubi, which is free, and you watch TV shows depending on what licenses they get. So I'm assuming Mubi's the same idea, but you probably have to pay for it. So
Baby
They
name.
always make everything sound like baby talk.
it's just a cute way of downloading an app to your phone.
Yeah, but why is it always cute? Why is it always cute and infantile?
I don't question it. I don't use it. I don't care.
At least we can riff on it.
Mubi, Tubi, I don't care.
Movie.
Teletubby.
Teletubi, Booby, you make it.
Booby is fine.
Booby is fine? Okay.
Booby is fine.
All right.
Booba.
Booba.
Alrighty.
That's the big ones.
In the ancient Greek myth of Jason and the Argonauts, Medea, sorceress and
Whoa, we're going back far.
wife, seeks revenge when Jason marries another woman by murdering the children they had together. The name Medea, derived from the Greek word for plans or cunning, established
Yeah, that's something that ex-wives today like to do. They like to get custody in court, crying and insulting the husband and slandering him, the ex-husband then. And then once they have the children, they're completely neglectful of the children, if you're lucky. However, then of course they like to brainwash the kids in that they don't want to see the dad because he's a bad person and so on. But in the really nutty cases, they then force transition the children into the other sex to punish, not because they think the kids are trans, but because two main reasons. One, if the woman has developed a complete man hatred for some reason, she's usually a feminist, or because she wants to punish the ex-husband by, see, I have control over your kid, and I'm doing this to our kid, and you can't do anything about it. Ha ha.
Yeah, this is a little
There are
difficult.
tons of these women, and they are, I'm sorry, those women are psychopaths.
You know
And they
what,
should
my
never
fan?
get custody.
Yeah, the problem
what?
is the story. Like the one I read, she didn't kill her children, but depending on which version of the story you get, because this is an ancient story, she might have 2 kids, she might have had 14 kids. Not really clear. So if she actively killed her kids, that's like she's butchering like a dozen people out of spite. It's like, whoa, okay, how'd you plan that out? So you guys have to. I mean, this has been a while since I've reread it, or since I have originally read it. And when I reread it, I don't remember her killing any kids. So, depending what version you get. So,
Just learn Old Greek and read it yourself.
yeah, read the original text.
Read the original.
Uncensored.
But then she gets remarried again, so it's like she moves on. So whatever.
Oh, she moves on from killing her children. Yeah. Very progressive woman.
Yeah, very. It's like it's over with.
Don't let the deaths of your children hold you back.
Yay, murder!
No.
Yeah. Anyway, fine. We'll just take this and say, sure, okay, this could have happened in the story. It's cool.
Which is the
That's what we
long-standing
call it,
idea that
psychopath.
divorced wives plot to seek revenge at all costs. In the 19th
Well, some
century, the
do.
crazy ex
Some.
again made frequent appearances as an unhinged villain with almost supernatural overtones.
My wife. My own demon.
In Jane Eyre, Mr. Rochester keeps his unpredictable wife Bertha locked away in a secret room, a harsh measure the audience is led to believe is necessary because she is in fact crazy. Before Jane meets Bertha, she thinks a ghost lives in the house.
How do you think they
and there's
did with
likewise a
Bertha?
spectral nature?
That was the point, because she's so
She just admitted it's justified.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you think they dealt with the mentally insane back then? They didn't have what we have today.
Yeah, there was no psychotherapy. There was no
jail.
psychiatry. There was just, okay, I guess she's crazy. Let's lock her up.
Just put her in a room alone.
Okay, what's the most humane thing we can do while not being in danger?
Just lock her up.
Put her in a room and throw some food in once in a while. Maybe
Lock her
throw
up, throw away the key.
If she reads it, she's still here somewhat. If she eats the book, maybe just throw food in the future.
Okay, well, there's maybe if she actually read it properly, the story would explain why she was kept, but interpretations.
I haven't, so I'm not familiar with that particular story. However, she herself just told us that it's justified, that she is in fact insane.
Right. This is what I mean. See, this sort of context. It's like the story tells us she's crazy. She has to be put away. It's like, okay, fine. I'll work with that. Not, oh, clearly this writer who's a woman has no idea what women went through. It's like, what do you? No. This was
She defeated her own claim, her own point that it's just imaginary. It's just made up. Well, okay, that's a story. So the story is probably made up. However, you admitted that she's actually crazy.
Yeah, so it was a female writer, written back in the 1800s. So it's like, yep, this is what they did. It's like, good, we got it. We don't need that much more information.
Sean Novell in the chat says, is this person implying that women are incapable of being crazy? It does sound like it. Yeah. So far, it does sound like it.
What was the term? Hysteria? Hysterical women? The general term for crazy girls who behaved erratically.
That's an odd term, but
this is like
I would. And this is just me because I would have to look up the actual definitions of that thing. Is just exaggerated behavior.
Yes, this was before psychology was out of its infancy, and they were trying to figure out human behavior, and they thought this general term of women's irrational outbursts was whatever they call it.
Well, that is often linked to hormonal levels that can get worse during the week. But that aside, we've seen lots of footage of activists, usually women, usually girls, that had complete hysterical fits and breakdowns. And I will call them hysterical because they were not. That was not PTSD. Like that one girl that started throwing a trash can and screeching because Ben Shapiro was gonna hold a talk at her university.
You think of the same one?
That's not. She claimed to have PTSD because of that. That wasn't PTSD. That was hysteria, and that was induced hysteria by her ideological brainwashing.
Yeah,
because if she wasn't part of that ideology, she would never behave like that.
Yeah, in the book, I think it was Congenital Madness, which is too generic and too specific to say, well, she was born with being crazy, which is like, that doesn't make any sense. But again, 1800s.
Some people are.
Well, yeah, but you can't really.
In that age,
yeah, you can't really make a
people didn't have terms.
Diagnosis, so it's like, okay, she was born nuts, and you're like, all right, let's
people didn't have good terms for these things back in the day.
Right,
we're still mixing things up that maybe we should distinguish more, and then also at the same time, especially in the DSM-5, we have extreme diagnostical creep that distinguishes things that are not distinct, that are in fact the same things. Just because someone wants to write a paper of, I have discovered this new thing, when you actually haven't. You're just making up shit. And the DSM is full of that creep. Yeah. So we're a long way from properly identifying every mental disorder, mental condition, and knowing everything from where does it actually come from. There are some things that you are born with. Psychopathy, for one, seems to be one of those things, and nobody wants to know his or her child to be a psychopath.
Yeah, so
that's also why it's not diagnosed until you're 18.
So in
before
regards,
that, it's called other things.
Yeah, in regards to
because you would ruin the childhood completely.
But in regards to the trope, this is seen as a conflict because I think Mr. Rochester wants to marry Jane or something like that, but he can't because he's already married to this crazy wife. And that's just this is just a hurdle or a conflict on the way to getting what the main characters want. And they discover that as she aged, she was going crazier. So they had to lock her away. So that's it. We don't need to know anything else. We don't care about her genealogy or, who diagnosed her or whatever terms they use.
Well, look, if this was the other way around, nobody would bat an eye if the healthy wife would just poison the crazy husband. Then he's done, and she can marry the guy of her dreams.
Yeah, and this is not Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. This is a very common pattern in murder mysteries where, someone dies in a mental institute, and who is it? Why did that happen right now during a wedding? Like, why would this? Very typical.
But what I've been shown of this story here is that the husband actually keeps the wife alive despite she's going more and more crazy. Well, if the sexes were reversed, I'm pretty sure the wife would just poison him.
Yeah, there's plenty of stories
to get on to the next marriage.
There's plenty of stories of either boys or men growing up after having bad childhoods or whatever, and they end up being a suspect in a murder case, and they're disowned or were put away, and they came out of the institute because back then they didn't really have. Actually, this was Vienna Blood. I watched the second. Episode 2 of the second season, they talk about this of institutions and how we were corrupt and whatever. So it's not uncommon to have these sorts of scenarios. These patterns are known in reality and tropes. It's just how it's handled that's the issue. So male or female, it's known as both genders having these problems. So not a huge,
good series, by the way.
It's not. I only watched 2 episodes. I don't know. I'm enjoying it though. So
you've only watched 2 episodes, but you watched the second episode of the second season.
Well, I only watched the first 2 of the second season because that's what was online.
Why didn't you watch the first season?
Because that's not when I caught it. I caught it when it started playing this month. So I was like, oh, this is the thing.
Watch the first season. It's good.
I know. I just don't really watch TV. So when PBS is on, I'm like, oh, what's that? Oh, it looks good. I'll watch it. That's it. That's all I got.
I don't watch TV either.
Okay.
I'm sitting here in front of my computer and I click a button and then the thing runs.
Yes, technology is awesome. I get it. Okay.
Science fiction.
Let's go.
This is watch on demand shit future we live in.
Yeah.
And if you had a computer and an internet connection in the late 90s, you could already do that.
Well, yeah.
Shocking.
Anyway, let's go.
To the crazy ex, who's the title character of Daphne du Maurier's 1938 novel Rebecca, the deceased wife of the narrator's husband, Rebecca de Winter, at first seems like a beautiful ideal the new Mrs. de Winter can't live up to.
You'll never replace her. You can't replace her. No, we can't love you. Because you're not her.
But it turns out that she was a demonic, heartless, unfaithful woman who still haunts and torments her ex-husband and his new wife, even from beyond the grave. There's something universal about the image of a past lover as a ghost that a new couple wishes would go away. But another source of the trope of the crazy ex-girlfriend or wife you can't be free of lies in that pesky until death do us part marriage vow. Throughout most of American...
Pesky?
Legally binding?
It's a good thing. You're supposed to be loyal to your spouse.
Yeah, Pesky's the one that got me too.
So you just you want this open relationship stuff where you fuck around with other men, but you will get jealous when your man fucks with another woman.
Yeah.
I bet you. And this is what these cluster B personality disorder types often do. They want to keep fucking around, and the man has to accept it. But when the man wants to do that too, she gets jealous and controlling and bitchy and really abusive. I mean, the fucking around is already abusive in regards to a relationship. However, I've known pairs, and already old in their 50s and such, where that jealousy of the wife, that they're otherwise a nice pair, but if the jealousy of the wife goes so far that she does not even allow her husband to have male friends. She has to be the only person he has a actual relationship with. If he goes to visit anyone else, and if it's just, for example, my tea shop guy, she's with him. He's never alone. She's never without her. Because she's so controlling. She is so jealous.
I'm suddenly reminded of the premise for Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, and only because they released the trailer this month with Kenneth Branagh's version of that. I don't know why Kenneth Branagh is doing it. Another Poirot.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Gal Gadot is in it, so the premise is that there is an ex-wife or ex-girlfriend. I can't remember the relationship between the main male lead, and she's trying to ruin this. Like, it's bizarre. Like, this woman follows them everywhere. If they go on a vacation, she's there. You know, it's like, how is this happening? What is going on? So that could be actually a pretty good remembrance of it, because I was trying to think of examples. Nothing popped into my head except for, Frasier. So this is the only other example I could think of, because of Kenneth Branagh trying to be Poirot.
Adultery.
And the next question this raises is, so if you died in an accident, like not because your actually insane partner is responsible for your death with malicious intent, but actual accident, you're dead now, or an illness, whatever. And would you now haunt your now ex in a jealous fashion, or would you want him to or her to be happy? Lead a happy life with a new partner that can make him or her happy? Or do you want your partner to be miserable until death?
Happy. I would expect him to remarry.
I mean, if there is an afterlife, it's kind of nice waiting there all the time, and then I mean that's going to be an awkward reunion. If you get into the afterlife, and oh, by the way, this is the guy or girl I married after you died. Hey, let's have a threesome. How's that going to work? But this is not really a real life problem.
Yeah.
Except for the religious people, they can stick with that and not remarry.
Yeah,
I understand that sentiment.
But I'm trying to think, because this is either an old school idea of, we are married or we are together, and that's to me is everything. Or these ladies are arguing, well, why can't you just find another guy? Why can't she just be independent and forget about this dude who doesn't like her anymore and move on? Like, what's the problem? Why? This never happens. Like, it's like, yeah, it happens all the time. Entire men's psyches are destroyed if they lose their supposed relationship they wanted all their life for whatever reason. There's all kinds of reasons why people break up. So why wouldn't that happen to the female psyche as well? I don't see why not.
That reminds me, there was once a study, and the study was they were surprised that men got affected from breakups as well.
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh my
Surprised?
God. It was a surprise.
What year?
Oh my God.
Yeah, the attachment that men have to women is very intense. The same way women get attached to men. It's the same idea.
Extremely. Like, men can be so heartbroken they can die from it as well. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so
what year was that study?
Yeah,
do these assholes think all men are psychopaths?
Yeah,
give me a moment. I'm looking up. Go on with the video. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, I want to see what their take is, because they seem to think this is completely unrealistic, that women or men are obsessed with their ex-partners, because that's what love and romance does to you. So,
how you managed my chin to drop?
Jesus.
What the hell?
All right, let's go. While you're searching for that.
In history, married couples who sought divorce faced long, arduous processes, given that obtaining a divorce often meant proving adultery.
You want a divorce? New York State, you need to prove adultery. I mean, prove it in a court of law. That's hard to do.
To simply be an ex-wife could mean you were widely assumed to be unfaithful or immoral. Moreover, women have not tended to be granted equality on the grounds for divorce. The 1857 Matrimonial Causes Act, passed in the UK Parliament, allowed men to divorce their wives for one act of adultery, while women could only divorce husbands who were physically abusive, incestuous, or bestial, as well as unfaithful, being at risk of losing.
And what is it like now? Right now?
Yeah,
Isn't
just
that
'cause
a
I'm
bit
the wrong
important of
path.
what it's like right now?
Yeah, people can just divorce for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, and then we also need to raise the issue of custody. Who is favored in custody? And which single parent, if we have a single parent household, in what circumstance, what constellation, is it most likely that, or more likely than the other, that the kids turn out failures in life up to criminals? And we have those statistics. It's overwhelmingly single mothers. Kids that only have a single father, they have other issues. They have a bit of social interaction issues. But we look at the incarcerated population. And what was it? 40%, 50% of them, like half of them, single mother household. Single father household is not present, but this is also because, of course, we barely have single father households compared to single mother households. But the question is, why is it so many? The data is in. Single mothers, there are some good ones, there are always exceptions. There are also shitty single fathers, of course. But the amount of absolutely incompetent and child-breaking single mothers is overwhelming. To the point where, solely based on that, we should side in a way more egalitarian fashion with the fathers. Maybe even a coin flip will better the situation. At this point, how can you say, oh, but the kid needs a mother, the kid also needs a father? And it's just, the data is really, really staggering. I had a hard time believing the numbers are that extreme.
I think they're currently at 50%. I don't know when it was higher or lower, but they've been slowly decreasing, but they're still roughly 50%. So since 2020.
And Zoro in the chat, no, I'm not going to call you an incel, but the concept of marriage was not a scam made by the government to scam people out of money. Marriage is a bit older than governments.
Yeah, marriage is also good for being more tax effective. So there's other reasons to do it, but it is government based nowadays. If you want to consider just to live with someone after your depending on the jurisdiction you're in, they will see that as a common law, and you will have to pay taxes like anyone else, just in a different way. So
yeah, Celtic and Norse marriage traditions, they're very, very nice ceremonies. And they didn't have what you would call government of what we have today.
Well, you can just get a marriage certificate by going in front of a judge, going down to, I don't know, where would you go down to? The courthouse, I assume? Back then, you did not have written documents about these things. You had a ceremony and the witnesses. It's a verbal agreement. You know, there was a time when verbal contracts still meant something, when oaths given still meant something. Even if nobody was around to hear it, people honored their oaths. Apparently nowadays we need written documents because nobody believes anything anymore because everybody lies.
Nowadays there's the internet.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, even we can acknowledge whenever we say that women aren't oppressed now, we're not saying there wasn't any oppression ever. Like, hello?
Yep, we hear you.
Oh, She's just bringing up the past here. Like, we weren't saying, like, no one was saying that past didn't exist. We're just saying, what does that have to do with now?
Right.
Yeah, get to the present.
Anyway, let's go.
Everything in a divorce, as ex-wives often did, could of course make anyone a little crazy.
And I'm not rich. Everything I had belongs to him. That's English law.
The through line between women who were branded as crazy exes in the past and the women who are branded them now is power. In the feminist prequel to Jane Eyre, 1966's Wide Sargasso Sea, author Jean Rhys imagines Bertha Mason.
You know, these feminist assholes only go to these specific periods where they can pick out the law being more disadvantageous for them. If they would go further back in history, they would find much more equal laws.
So
in the classical era.
So
and before you read seriously, people, go and read the Code of Hammurabi. Or there are audiobook versions of that, and even the one read by Sargon is pretty good to listen to. He still has it on his Ancient Recitations channel. You listen to that, and keep track of the rights that women have in that time. Thousands upon thousands of years ago, first written code of law.
Okay, so what she just said, in case you guys didn't catch that, the Wide Sargasso Sea was written by not the original writer of Jane Eyre. So after the intellectual rights 100 years have gone past, you can use those characters. It is a feminist prequel to Jane Eyre, okay? Just wrap that around your brain. Someone takes this book, which is a romance, one of the classic romances of, I think, American history, says, okay, I'm going to do a feminist prequel to it to explain or set up something that they think they should talk about. Little different than the actual story. I've never read this, but just to wrap your brain around what she's arguing. Because, this feminist wrote this story about the same character. It's like, yes, and I've heard many people write stories about Sherlock Holmes because they're allowed to. Doesn't mean it's authentic. It's not part of the real canon. So what feminist explanation are you going to give me for Jane? Or what's her name in Jane Eyre, the thrown away wife who's crazy? Like, what are you going to give me? Like, this is the argument she's trying to throw at us. It's like, look at this feminist who wrote a book about the same topic. Like, okay, here we go.
Perspective, and shows us a woman who's been horribly mistreated and cheated on.
Traitor! Fornicator!
To a contemporary audience, it's the unchecked total control Mr. Rochester has over him.
It's only men who do it to women, right? Women would never do that to men. That's how she thinks. And that's how she wants to justify that. Oh, all these women, all these crazy ex-girlfriends, they've just all been wronged. They're all justified in their behavior. All of them. But the men never are. The men are just monsters. This woman is a manipulative, gaslighting asshole. And I hope nobody ever married her. That poor man. And I hope she doesn't have children, because she's the type to lie and gaslight them as well. And emotionally extort them. Guilt trip them all the time and fuck off.
Yeah, so it sounds like
it's as the chat says.
It sounds like
oppression for these women is, I don't get everything on a whim that I want. If I don't get 100% of what I want on a whim, I'm oppressed because you don't treat me like a princess.
Yeah, so this is not just a feminist take. This is also a post-colonial response to Jane Eyre, which focuses on the relationship between Mr. Rochester and that wife that's crazy, and how she became crazy is clearly because of the husband. So, yay! I can do prequels too of books that I'm allowed to write about and have any slant I want. Thank you, fictional writer who's not part of the real canon. That's great. Yeah, fantastic argument.
You want to complain about women not having rights in society? Look at the strong Islamic societies.
Well,
you still need 4 witnesses that you were raped.
Okay, but we could take this about, let's say I want to rewrite or redo the prequels to Star Wars. Like, yeah, if in 100 years I can do that. I've within my rights to do that. It doesn't mean it's part of the real canon. It's like, well, Bob in 50 years' time is going to rewrite the prequels and publish them, and I know they're going to be great. You're like, that's not an argument, dude.
Yeah, and you know what happens then? Either you don't get you don't get enough witnesses, then they will call you a liar, and you get punished for that. Or there are the kinds of Islamic societies that, well, okay, you have your 4 witnesses, so technically you can divorce him now. But this also means that, well, technically, since you have been raped, that means you slept with another man. And the punishment on that, according to the religion, is death. So you will now be stoned to death for having been raped. Congratulations. And this is happening today.
Yes, all cultures are equal.
And this religion is defended by feminists. They're cherry picking for the nicest things. While they have these absolute atrocities in there. They're attacking Christianity without pause and without remorse. It's all bad because, I don't know, I guess it was the fashion to criticize it. But Islam, that is, I think it's worse than Christianity was during the Inquisition. And it was pretty bad during the Inquisition. But bloody hell. What is going on in these women's minds doing this?
All right, let's go.
Evil.
His wife that seems threatening. Helen Small, a professor of English language and literature, writes that during the 19th century, tales of women driven to insanity by the death or treachery of their lovers were deeply ingrained in the culture's conception of femininity. Looking back on all this, we can see how the myth of the vengeful, crazy ex-girlfriend was a self-perpetuating one. Draconian laws that favored the husband's rights and governed women's bodies, and deep-seated, inescapable, untrue stereotypes caused intense moments and expressions of female frustration, which in turn have been used to prove that females are unstable and justify...
Females are more unstable than men. That is neurologically and chemically a fact.
Yes.
And this is always horrible to say. You know, do some hormone therapy. See the other side. It's very different. You are with a female hormone cocktail in your body, you are more emotional.
So apparently this was adapted to a film, an opera, a radio program, a TV movie adaptation, a rock and roll song, and another BBC radio program in 2016. So obviously this caught on to something. Some people who like classics like Jane Eyre and interpretations therein. I've never heard of it though. Yeah.
So you are more emotional, you are more vulnerable. And if you have no maturity, that means no control over that at all, you're gonna act out like these crazy bitches.
Hey, you're fucked.
Yeah, the thing is the higher testosterone levels of men, they do help focus. They don't just make more aggressive, they also make more stoic. But the stoicism comes after the aggression. But that's something that men learn as they grow up. However, women don't have this regulator. So if you haven't developed any emotional maturity, that means any control about your emotional responses, you're just gonna be an unbearable bitch. And that is what we usually call the crazy girlfriend.
All right. So we're dealing with feminism, post-colonialism, and I think this is characterized as a postmodern book. So, or postmodern literature, rather. So take with that what you will. But I think it sort of hurts the premise of, especially when you're not arguing the canon. It's just like, here's a side story by some other writers. Like, yep, that's great. Okay.
Laws restricting them. So what forms does the crazy ex-girlfriend take in more recent and contemporary pop culture?
Comedy.
The show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a nuanced and hilarious takedown of the way we so quickly jump to calling women crazy.
It's a comedy musical. It's not to be taken seriously.
Joke.
This is not an argument.
it's taking inspiration from these things, but oh god.
Yeah, this is not okay. The trope is one thing. It's not to be confused with the show, which is a comedy musical. It's designed for show tunes and to make you laugh.
Remember, the socialists can't take a joke.
It's like, hey, there's a musical about this very trope. It's like, no, did you watch the show? It's there.
Also, thanks for Diamond X in the chat bringing up that while the crazy lefties preach that women's have more rights in Sharia law, you also female witnesses also only count as half to a male witness because women are more untrustworthy. This is like why do
and
you
for good reason.
This? Why do you defend them? There is some kernel of truth because Islam recognizes that women can be crazy, but why is feminism defending it then? Like, I don't get it. As a Western feminism, the feminists in the Islamic countries, they're more grounded. They're calling these things out, and they call the West for help, the Western feminists, but the Western feminists completely ignore them.
Yeah, because the Western feminists don't care in the first place.
Yeah, because the Western feminists defend the authoritarian Islam, and even when it comes to our countries. And the feminists in the Islamic countries, they're completely baffled. They don't understand why the feminists here in Europe defend this shit that oppresses them. Oh, God.
Then there's Denmark.
Pure insanity. What's going on in Denmark right now?
Well, not right now, but it's like, yeesh, just look up the wokeness in Denmark.
All right.
That doesn't tell me anything, but okay.
Let's go.
Because I'm not keeping track of every country.
No, I mean, just look. It's just as simple as just look it up for yourself.
Oh, if they're writing
When
laws...
you raise something like that on stream, just please say something.
Yeah, if they're writing laws like they're doing in Canada with left-leaning, sexualized style words like cisgendered, this and that, it's like, okay, we've gone too far. Anyway.
Yeah, be up for the vote yourself.
That's a sexist term.
The first season shows Rebecca performing an extreme of stereotypical crazy ex-girlfriend behaviors, moving across the country to be near an ex she briefly dated in summer camp as a teen and trying to steal him from his new girlfriend, all while pretending she just wants casual friendship. But the show unpacks all the crazy ex-girlfriend tropes, like the lies, the instability, and the proverbial daddy issues, humanizing.
That is, you are fucking describing borderline personality disorder to a T. Sorry, Ola, you wanted to say something?
I was just saying they usually do have daddy issues.
Yes. That's like, what this is not made up stuff. This is this exists.
Yeah.
They are crazy.
This exists. There's literature about this. There's medical literature about this shit. And these assholes dare to invoke psychology. God.
Evidence.
How is this shit not banned for misinformation?
Well, again, even like we talk about comedy, we talk about a truth and we exaggerate the truth to make it funny or stand out more. So it's like, yeah, they have to come from a place of knowledge. They can't just make shit up and expect us to care about the characters. They have to be exaggerated. They have to come from a place that, oh, this makes sense. This is why she is the way she is. It's like, great, fine. I get it. And then she dances and sings. So I'm not seeing a problem with.
And daddy issues can entail not having had a daddy. That helps. Having a father also helps girls.
Right. There's
because
lots.
There are some processes in girls' bodies that get triggered by the absence of a father figure, of a father at all. They sexually mature too fast, for example.
vulnerable, likable central character and digging deeper into why an ultra-smart, highly educated woman feels compelled to act this way.
So you're saying that I moved here from New York and I left behind a job that would have paid me $545,000 a year for a guy who still skateboards? That would be crazy, and I am not crazy.
Rebecca's
No.
deceptiveness
Yes, you
comes
are.
from the
That's
expectation
irrational.
that to win over a guy, she must constantly project a likable, relaxed, cool girl persona that's inherently inauthentic. It's not just in Rebecca.
Yeah, you mean somebody that she is not. And once she gets into the relationship, the mask falls.
Didn't we cover the cool girl or the trope that they talked about was like the guy girl, like the girl who's like really cool and the guys want to hang out with her because they like all the things the guys like?
Not sure, but that could be a tomboy. And this is not a tomboy.
Oh,
I
know
yes,
that.
it's not a tomboy. This is a crazy bitch.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think there's a
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, this is a great example of a fake fan.
Oh,
She's a fake fan girl. She's faking what you're describing. She's faking because she's not really into these things. She's faking all the interests of the guy, so that he thinks, oh, she has these things in common with me, where she can hang out with together and have fun with together. That's amazing. And then once she's in the relationship, maybe even has the ring on, she lets the mask fall and shows that she's actually not into any of this and even annoyed by it. She only
Manipulation.
pretended to get him. And that's the difference between fake fans and nice guys, the betas. They do this too. Between those and the authentic men and the authentic women. And especially with the authentic men, it is that they seek to prove that they're actually competent at something. They don't go pretend to be into something the girl is into just to get her attention. That's a very juvenile thing to do that some boys try out, and usually doesn't really work well because it is always a sour stain on the relationship.
Yeah.
However, a good relationship will have the partner say, okay, you want us to do this together, even though I'm not as into it as you are, but because I love you, I'm gonna do it with you after all.
I'm assuming there's lots of Torch songs in this musical, but they're all comical and sappy and tongue-in-cheek because she can't be that dumb about what's going on. Like the previous scene was like, I'm not into this guy. I'm just doing whatever I want, not realizing that she's totally into this guy and she can't let him go. So
and there are people who can break a relationship on good terms. Even marriages on good terms that exists. It's not as prominent, and it doesn't make as good a story to tell and to make a movie about.
It's not as fun to
happens.
watch. Yeah. Again, we're going for the fun musical sounding lyrics and the dancing and how silly she is to care about this guy who obviously doesn't have the same feelings for her. So.
Yeah, with stories, with movies, we go for the things that bring conflict because conflict is fun to watch. That's why there are people like catastrophe tourists who just love to look at the misery of other people, not out of sadism, just out of, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's gonna happen next. I wonder if the people in the 7-car pileup are still alive and how many are dead. I wonder. That's not sadism. They're just curious as hell.
And they've never seen it before.
That's kind of why superheroes have endured so long.
All right.
Why? I don't understand why. Yeah?
Curiosity, was it?
The curiosity of what's going to happen next is what I meant, yeah.
Okay.
No, just in a general sense, not anything specific.
Okay.
All right.
Rebecca's imagination that guys expect this. After she finally gets the magical night she's been dreaming of with Josh, she momentarily slips up and reveals just how badly she wanted to be with him.
I moved here for you. What? The second I saw you on the street in New York, I knew.
And her full-on expression of passion for him immediately puts him off and causes him to distance himself. In the next season, Rebecca realizes...
That's not passion, that's obsession.
Because she's a freak.
Yeah. Yeah, and that obsession is creepy. Because she is creepy. She's a creeper. And nice guys can be like that too. And they won't let go, and they will... Like, there are the types that just keep pushing innuendo on you, and not just the subtle stuff, but the really graphic, gross stuff. And you can tell them 3-4 times that they should stop because it's disgusting, and they will just keep going because they think they just have to push harder, and then you will like it because you're just playing hard to get. Like, it's absolutely insane. They will not let go. Those are the types that don't take no for an answer, and I think that is why, because there's so many of them in the feminist spheres, that is why the feminists came up with this no means no crap that destroyed the flirting game, where they really have to where they insist that the first no means no, when it should be the second one.
All right.
This is a relentless drive to seek the approval of an emotionally unavailable guy like Josh stems from feeling abandoned by her father. So when Rebecca embraces being the vengeful, crazy, scorned woman at the...
Look, it's not emotionally unavailable. He's not available to her. And women and men like this never take no for an answer. That's the problem. She doesn't accept that he does not want her. And never did. Look at these horrible faces. The one left to her? Like that's a...
They're always unhappy.
Is that a resting bitch face? Like, would you want to be married to that? Would you want to make up to that in the morning?
Well, they're about to burst into song, so I'm sure there's some sort of angry musical they're about to jump into.
Imagine you wake up in the morning, turn around on the pillow, and you see this face.
And then the bitch face.
Like I'm going to murder you.
All right.
The end of season 2.
Josh Chan must be destroyed.
The transformation has an empowering aspect. At least she's no longer internalizing the blame for why men have mistreated her.
All these men, they are the ones to
like
blame.
What?
Still, Rebecca can't fully heal until
she is. It's not just... I hear this so often from borderline girls that they're just, it's depression and my anxiety, my PTSD. Some of them do have PTSD because there was the trigger in childhood that made the borderline come out and manifest in full. But that's not the main issue. Her issues are not depression and anxiety. She has way bigger issues. She is a completely irrational human being. And she is apparently remorseless. She doesn't care about the damages she causes in other people, as long as she can get the toy that she wants. And I can even imagine that once she has her toy, that she would get bored of that toy relatively quickly and finds a new toy that she finds interesting and then starts hounding that. Because that is how these kinds of girls and women usually act. They want the thrill. It's because, as I said before, Cluster B only understands Eros, does not understand the other types of love, therefore has no emotional binding, therefore goes for the high she can get, which is found in the infatuation phase of love. That's this chemical rush you have in the first few weeks, as well as the sex. But eventually you only have the sex, but you don't have the infatuation anymore. And that's why she then goes to the next guy she can be infatuated with. And that's why she sleeps around. It isn't faithful to the guy that she did all of this crazy shit for. That's the joke here. She is insane, and she is dangerously insane. People like this, she already proved this is a homewrecker. She deliberately destroys, actively sabotages and destroys, poisons the relationship this guy that she's chasing had before. And I've met girls like that. Borderliners and psychopaths. Outright psychopathic women. And they will go over corpses for that. They have no trouble driving people to suicide.
All right.
If necessary.
This
is real.
This is also still just a comedy musical meant to entertain, not to be some reflection of reality, because this is all just
I'm just throwing. I'm just because she says these women don't exist and it's all just bad, and if they exist, it's all just bad, and we should feel sorry for them and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm saying the kinds of women that this character is based on, you shouldn't fall for this emotional crap.
Right, because
they need help, yes, but they need that in a clinic, and they need not be let out until they finish their dialectical behavioral therapy.
Yeah, no one's saying, oh yeah, a woman would drop this amazing job and move just on the whim because she saw her old flame that she met back in high school and wants to be around him and hopefully set something up with him. And she's just waiting and waiting and waiting. It's like, that's probably not reality. And that's fine. No one is expecting that. So that's totally cool. But to say that this, because it's fiction, therefore it's never, the psychology is off. It's like, no, all comedy comes from truth. There's some aspect of reality that it takes. And it's just blowing it up with song and dance, literally song and dance, and all for to show this pathos of this woman who goes from obsession to revenge, I guess. I don't know what happens in season 2. So,
I thought this was a movie.
I think it's a mini-series. I don't know. Anyway.
No, I have no intention to watch
Yeah,
this.
I'm
really
just saying that.
Appalling. I don't, especially with these, with an abusive, mentally insane woman as the main character that we're supposed to root for. No, fuck off. I'm not gonna watch
that is interesting. I wonder how that works.
I've seen these stuff. Well, the women like her, the insane women like her, they love to watch this because this is what they can actually project themselves on.
Wait a second. Well, let's not go that far.
She's the victim here.
Just wait, hold on, because there's all kinds of women's network shows specifically for women, like Hallmark shows. They're free on YouTube as well. You could watch them, and they're all the same. It's all pretty much.
Yeah, but that's the target audience.
Yeah,
women like this, crazy women like this.
This is more of, crazy women don't watch this. It's just because this is funny and this is fun to watch. It's not because it's for crazy women.
Smart. I bet you, crazy women like her would love to watch this. If you tell them the show exists and they watch it, they will say they love it because they can see so much of themselves in her.
I would say that is the same, like the exact opposite interpretation. That we see a lot of people who watch movies and like on our channel, we listen to their interpretation. And it's like, this is the exact opposite message of the story. I think that's what would be happening there. And sure, they would enjoy it for their own reasons. That's fair, but they'd be missing the point. So
the crazy women always miss the point.
That's regardless of what they do, though. That has nothing to do with the media they enjoy.
At least until the point where she reveals her insanity to him, her insane behavior. At least until then, they will love it. I don't know what happens.
But that's the thing. That's what I mean. But you watch the show to see how crazy she is. That's the entertainment value.
Yeah, that for other people, maybe.
No. That is
kind of stuff.
But
the crazy women will not see her as crazy.
Yeah.
They will see her as perfectly relatable.
Right, but I'm saying the creator of the show did not say, I'm going to write a story for psychopaths. Like, no.
Do you know that? Well, not for psychopaths.
Well,
but for women like this.
I really don't think, you know what,
she doesn't call her a psychopath or borderline. She makes excuses for this kind of character.
That's totally fine. I highly doubt a writer in any sane way would go, you know what, I'm going to write a movie for Jeremy Dahmer. Or any psychopath. Like, that's not.
Smart, do you really wanna talk about there are no insane writers around?
If we're talking about
the assholes that ruined Game of Thrones, the asshole that ruined Wheel of Time,
if we are
the assholes that ruined The Witcher, the assholes that made cuties.
Wait, you're talking about something different. We're talking about bad writers. I'm not talking about bad.
They're not just bad. Some of them are malicious.
Okay, sure. But to say my target audience is a serial killer does not make any sense. That's not how writers operate. This is clearly a farce. This is clearly a comedy, and it's designed to be fun to watch. It's song and dance. That's all you need to know. It's not to be taken seriously.
But I'm telling you, any man who's had a crazy girlfriend like this does not want to watch this. So who wants to watch this?
People who like musicals. There's lots of people out there, and and the obsessions that someone goes to for whatever they want, and they discover what they want doesn't work out, and they go in the opposite direction. That's comedy. That's tragedy. A comedy tragedy. It's very typical in drama. This is just an exaggeration of that because it's a musical. That's it. That's all it is. It's not some weird, this is purely for psychopaths, or this is purely for women who are holding a torch for so. It's like, no, come on. It's not that deep.
This is a very special story that I don't think everyone will enjoy.
Of course, but this is not even related to the trope. This is a joke. It's like saying
it doesn't matter whether it's a joke or not. I, for one, don't want to watch something where some character like this has such an important role. Because I don't want to be reminded of assholes like this.
Yeah, but this is not a serious story. You're not supposed to be...
It is irrelevant whether it's a serious story or not.
Sure, if you go in to watch a farce, you know it's a farce. So you're not going to take it seriously.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
I do not... If I have the option to watch something with a character that is as shitty and insane as the people that I know act exactly like this and deliberately ruin other people's lives, why would I want to watch it?
You could say the same thing of any anti-hero or, Walter White from, what's that show with Walter White? Breaking Bad. He's a bad guy. We know he's a horrible person, but people watch it anyway because he does crazy, entertaining things.
Possible, but so you're talking about a generalized thing. I'm talking about a specific thing.
Well, you're still saying a bad person who has mental problems or has egotistical issues.
It's not any bad person. It's a very specific thing.
Yeah, but it's still someone who does bad things, right? Who has malicious intent.
Smart. You want to sell me watching this?
Well, it's the same. Again, it's any show with an anti-hero that you like.
No.
Yes.
No, it's not. You're talking generalized again. I'm talking about this specific combination of character traits.
Sure. You don't like that. That's great.
That reflects a specific type of abusive human being.
Sure. That's
if I have too much experience with this type of horrible character in real life, why would I want to watch a show about this?
Yeah, but those are your preferences. That's fine. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is not written for psychopaths or people of that ilk. They could watch it and could like it. Sure. I don't know. I don't even mind.
I would say this is written not for psychopaths, but I would say this show is written. I just said not for psychopaths.
All right.
I would say this is written for women who are like her, which is borderliners.
Okay. Fair. You could have that interpretation. Let's go.
Hallucinates when stressed and is eventually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. This iteration of the ex-girlfriend undergoing a mental health crisis is nuanced and moving, highlighting that women we label as crazy may be acting out because they are hurting or traumatized. In the end, Rebecca resolves her issues by working on herself, turning her musical hallucinations into expressions of creativity in the world and not centering a man in her life.
When I'm telling my own story, for the first time...
No, let's be honest, she's not centering the man in her life. She's centering herself in her life because she doesn't actually care what happens to the man. She's destroying his relationship.
Well, she's trying to get better in this
She wants to own
scenario.
him. She wants to control him.
Yeah, but that's...
Sorry, you go.
Like, she's obviously accepted. Like, this is the phases of getting through acceptance. So she's accepting that she has to grow and change and get over him. So she goes to therapy, yada yada. So obviously the story is changing and developing. So that's fine.
Also, it's not bad that at least for a while you prioritize yourself if you're like mentally having a problem.
Yeah. So I guess they want to have a happy ending. I don't know. But the fact that they used her hallucinations or whatever as musical, whatever, that's kind of cute. So every time you have a musical interlude, it's just her daydreaming or something, and they're really vibrant and clear. I thought that's kind of handy to do it. Where was that episode with Buffy where she just bursts into song and everyone just starts dancing and you know?
Oh, that's not just her; that's everyone, because there is a musical demon.
Right.
Out.
There's some spell going around or something like that. It's like that's sort of like, okay, that makes sense. It's magic. Everyone's
and that was in this absolutely atrocious series one of the very few genuinely good episodes.
Yeah, so there's obviously entertainment to the people watching this, and they're trying to make it a series. So they're bringing it back to therapy as opposed to just this crazy story of a woman, right? So
yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad. So she's still crazy, but I'm glad that this thing here has a positive message of go to bloody therapy, because most borderliners don't do that, or they drop out of it before they're done because it's too hard for them.
Yeah, so it sounds like Whisp, they know what they're doing. They talked about borderline, or they mentioned it at least. So there's a doctor that diagnoses her. She goes to the hospital. She has a breakdown.
What's that said?
Yeah, borderline.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can rewind it if you want to see it, but they do say it. Yeah.
What good?
Do you want me to rewind it for you right now?
Yeah, rewind it, please.
All right.
Needs to address. The word crazy in the title is a reference to the way we casually demean our exes by flippantly turning mental health issues into an insult. But this assumed stigma and rigid expectations for acceptable behavior from female partners exacerbate very real mental health issues. Rebecca battles severe depression and anxiety, is delusional and erratic, hallucinates when stressed, and is eventually diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. This iteration of...
Thank you. See, I'm happy that I was actually correct, and this series deserves points for actually doing this.
Yeah, so it's mature and it knows its audience. This is not some big joke. You know, how did this crazy woman come about? No, they're explaining it. They're trying to turn it around, give it an uplifting message, I guess, because she does realize she's at fault. So that's good.
Yeah, and that's the like here. She has musical hallucinations. Okay, good. I don't know how they play out or what happens. The thing with real life borderliners is that they base revenge plans based on fantasies, and they know they're fantasies. Like I've mentioned this a couple of times, where they do this because of that they dreamed something that you did in a dream at night, and they wake up and they know it was a dream, but they still will punish you for it in real life and harbor a plot. And that is what makes these people so dangerous.
Well, it's good that it's no longer just a farce, or it's no longer just in her head. She's realizing that her idea is to be with this guy is not going to happen, and she has to deal with it. So she has to go through all the stages of was it grief? So
it's not the stages of grief that are the important part here. The important part is that she goes through dialectical behavioral therapy, which teaches you the basic skills of rational thought and reflection manually that any other person that doesn't have a cluster B personality disorder naturally develops during, at the latest, the teenage years. And borderliners never develop that. They have no rationality in them. That's their problem. Or one of many problems they have. And yeah. And then therapy is hard for them. But personally, from all I've experienced with these types of people, and most of them are women, I think the factor is 8-1 or 13-1 or something. If they have not successfully finished DBT, and convincingly, because these are also very deceptive. They will try to play their therapists a lot and manipulate their therapists into believing that they managed it. If they haven't, they should not be let out of a clinic, if you ask me. These people are too dangerous. That's the problem. And they usually also need to do trauma therapy, because there is usually complex PTSD afoot. Many of them have been raped when they were younger, not just made it up. It's actually, there is a high correlation. That's one of the many things that can manifest borderline personality disorder. There's a genetic component, and then there needs to be something that triggers the borderline to come out. So not everyone who has PTSD or complex PTSD develops borderline. It's not how it works. But yeah, this is a way more complex disorder than people make it out to be. And you will find in videos that explain borderline personality disorder, like from Dr. Ramaswamy, there will be thousands of women with borderline personality disorder in the comments who don't realize what horrible things Dr. Ramaswamy is describing, that is horrible and dangerous behavior. And they will just write things like, oh, I can so relate to this. Oh, finally someone who understands me. Oh, man, and my struggle. And oh, we are so victims. And they, no, you are, if you are victims, you are the types of victims that have turned into predators. And they will talk down everything about their disorder, that it's not dangerous, and that they're just, what is it? Neurodiverse, and we should just accept them as they are. If a poisonous predator, a spider, a snake, would tell you that, oh, just trust me, I'm just neurodiverse. You have to accept me as I am. I totally won't inject you with my poison. And when you turn around, the predator does it, because it's like the what's it? The frog and the poison and the scorpion over the river. Something like that. It's baffling. It's baffling. They're trying to, because they are, I think parts of them are in denial that they're actually doing bad stuff, and the other part knows that they're actually doing bad stuff, but they know they can get away with the lies so easily. And it's more the women that get away with it than the cases of men. Well, it's hard to know because there are so few male cases of borderline.
So about that thing I said way earlier, the science, it turns out they weren't surprised that men felt at all. They were surprised that men were actually more affected by breakups than women were.
Oh, more affected.
Yeah.
Yes, it's because women have emotional support from other people, but for a man, it was mostly the woman. So when the breakup happens, he loses everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's certainly one reason.
Yep. Okay. We're almost halfway done. I don't know if we're going to keep going, but yeah.
The ex-girlfriend undergoing a mental health crisis is nuanced and moving, highlighting that women we label as crazy may be acting out because they are hurting or traumatized.
And,
in the end, Rebecca resolved...
Okay, this is not a mental health crisis that she's going through right now. Borderline personality disorder is something that manifests in childhood, like single-digit years. That's the problem. And you usually have a borderline personality disorder mother above that. So you already have insanity and craziness and irrationality and emotional abuse in the home. Not every girl born to a borderline mother becomes borderline herself, but it's like there's also a so there's a higher chance for it, in part because of the genetic component in that. And yeah, this is a lifelong thing. And only getting into therapy with that in your, what is she, in her 30s, that's a bit late. It's sad that it's so late, and it's also for her surroundings sad. But that should get into therapy early on, so that you can catch up on the development, on the emotional development that is missing.
All right.
And the earlier you treat the possible PTSD connected to it, the better. But the longer it takes, it's just gonna get worse. Okay. And just wanted to hit this home that this is not a one-time crisis. This is a lifelong thing, and it is likely not gonna get cured. This is a thing that stays. This is something that you can only mitigate.
So hopefully this topic about the show is not going to last too much longer, because this is a lot different than the trope they're referring to.
Yeah.
This is a woman pining for a high school crush, which is a little different than what the trope.
And that's not even an ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of an exaggeration of the trope, if at all.
But it's great that we got to a point where it is even admitted by the video that the character she's talking about has borderline personality disorder. And that I said in the beginning, most of the crazy ex-girlfriends have borderline personality disorder. So it's as we say in German, ass on bucket. Like, because it fit the ass fits on the bucket to take a shit.
Okay. I've never heard that.
That's a big shit.
It doesn't translate very well.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's keep going.
Her issues by working on herself, turning her musical hallucinations into expressions of creativity in the world, and not centering a man in her life.
When I'm telling my own story, for the first time in my life, I am truly happy.
It's like I just met myself.
However, this happy ending isn't always attainable for ex-girlfriends who are genuinely unwell. For Orange is the New Black's Lorna Morello, a guy she's only been on one date with comes to represent all of her hopes, dreams, and delusions about romantic relationships.
She left notes on my car, she threw trash on my lawn, she left voicemails yelling about how I wasn't helping enough with the dog. I don't even have a dog.
Without Rebecca's income and status privileges, including access to good mental health treatment, Lorna's obsession lands her in jail, where her delusions just intensify.
Clearly your time in prison has done nothing to bring you back into reality, you psycho.
Morello is driven by loving an idea of love.
I deserve to be with...
Oh, no. Yes, she is. It's also, again, in congruence with the borderline personality problem. But that she isn't getting mental health help in prison, that is a failure of the system. That is nothing else. Because here in Germany, you do get that. And then I think in the UK as well, to a degree. Depends on what you're in for.
I was going to say that while I do agree that she can help, mental illness does not excuse abuse. If you do something wrong, you have to be punished.
Exactly. The law doesn't care whether you're insane or not. It only proves that if you're insane, and we take that as an excuse for you doing a bad thing, you are the most likely person to be a repeat offender. That's why incarceration, or in a mental health clinic, for example, you can also be incarcerated in a mental health clinic, is the correct option then.
All right.
Somebody who loves love!
And the more that her life diverges, sometimes tragically, from her perfect dreams, the less she's able to accept reality. The mental health crisis ex-girlfriend shows how feeding women a traditional, restrictive idea of the successful relationship can be traumatizing, since life inevitably doesn't fit into that box. Her ex has
I'm pretty sure it's the crazy women.
Close to ready to see.
What? She is blaming reality?
What about the trauma for the man that she stalked?
Yes. And did she really just blame reality?
Yes.
For the problems of the mentally insane?
Yeah, but even if that's the case, I don't see what's the problem. We don't take this literally to mean this is how it works, and we shouldn't have to. If you want to tell a story of someone going through mental conditions and how that transpires, that's fine. You could write whatever you like. I don't care.
Yeah, but it's mad. She just blamed reality for the pains of this woman.
Well...
Yep.
The reality
that is her
the
being
fictional
insane.
World, or not like reality.
Story,
reality.
That is what the activists also do. That's why we should just conform to the insanities of these people and just accept that they live in different realities that we should respect. That's what they say.
If the author is blaming reality, then they're accepting that there are crazy people out there who happen to be female and are ex-girlfriends. So, or whatever context that relationship was in Orange is the New Black with that specific character.
To take women, they don't understand reality.
Well, they're using fiction to explain and argue against reality, which is fine, but it's not the most accurate way to do it. So you have to...
No, it's just stupid.
Yeah, smart. These people, these activists do this for non-fictional insane women. Where they say objective reality doesn't exist, and therefore we need to respect the personal, subjective realities of these people that we call insane. That is,
I know, but
what do they call it? It's offensive.
Right.
We should just accept their subjective realities.
But the premise is that this is all made up. And you're like, well, okay, but it only works if there's actually a semblance to reality. So it either is part of reality in some regard, in some perspective, or, yeah, it's just fiction and we shouldn't care about it too much. Like, you're right. If it is, then it's not a big deal. But that's how people treat these things anyway. They just see it as entertainment. Like, oh, let's watch a drama about a bunch of women in prison, or let's watch a musical about a woman pining over a man. It's like, yeah.
They only take that as fiction. Smart, have you not heard about the soap operas that drove women to suicide because they couldn't stand the tension of the next episode coming out or didn't like the ending?
Yeah, there are crazy people. Yes, I agree. This does happen.
And that is a large portion of these emotional shows audiences.
Soap operas get melodramatic, yes.
And they're watched by melodramatic women for the most part, and some melodramatic gay men.
They're probably not as melodramatic in like the Hallmark stories, but they're the same sappy sort of stories. So
yeah, and they take these things very seriously. They're not just treating them as fiction.
Yeah, but
it's like the fan fiction /fic writers we cover here on repeatedly.
Yeah, but
that want their stuff to be the canon.
Sure,
want it to be the real stuff.
But we can say the same.
4chan.
Yeah, we can say the same of any fan of any series they enjoy for whatever reason. That's fine. They can like it, be passionate about it. That's great. I have nothing wrong with that. It's what they treat as real and say, well, this is how it really should be done. This is a really good story because it has these characters with these scenarios and these reasons. And you're like, yes, I've seen that story done before 20 years ago from this perspective. It's the same idea because the patterns are all the same. So my issue is still the premise of, is this manufactured? And if it is, then it's not real. You can't then point to reality and say, this is not how reality is. Because you're then trying to contradict yourself saying, well, here's how reality should be. And you're like, why? Why would you know that?
No, you're reflecting elements of reality and see how they play out. And
yeah, that's fine. I don't.
That's
normal
thing.
That's storytelling. That's fine. I don't. Yeah, no problems. So why they think it's manufactured?
That doesn't mean it has zero to do with reality.
Yeah, they sort of just went on a shtick for about 5 minutes talking about that Crazy Ex-Girlfriend show. It's like, that's fine, but you're not proving it's fake. You're just proving that there's a psychological basis for it done in a creative way that makes it fun to watch. That's it. That's all you've shown me. Not that it's unrealistic. So
I never said it's unrealistic.
No. I mean the creators of the show, not you.
The show or
show.
Of this video?
Well, yeah, the creators of the video talking about the show.
Okay, because I don't think the creators of the show thought it's unrealistic.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
Anyway,
Kingerman?
We're halfway done.
Him with someone else. The jealous ex-girlfriend just wants to make her old boyfriend feel as terrible as she does, if only for a short time, and takes action in the form of mostly harmless pranks.
The super ex-girlfriend. Okay, if you actually go to the trope page, they tell you at the end not to be confused with, and they point to the super ex-girlfriend and the actual musical, The Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Okay,
borderliners go to the point with these pranks of inflicting physical harm to the point of having murder fantasies that they seek to enact.
Right, but the trope has nothing to do with the two things that the trope is what they're talking about here on the video. So,
what?
If you guys want to check out the trope, Google it. Go to TV tropes, and you'll see at the bottom. You know how every trope it says not to be confused with, and those are the two things. That movie and the show that they talked about for 5 minutes here. So, anyway.
align us with this character's perspective, her behaviors, however petty or childish, become almost universally relatable. Throughout Friends, Rachel seeks to destroy any relationship her ex Ross becomes involved in. In one episode, manipulating Ross's new girlfriend Bonnie into shaving her head because she knows Ross won't find it attractive.
She said you gave her the razor.
But of course, the narrative situates us on Rachel's side and ultimately uses this as a catalyst for Rachel to admit she still has feelings for her ex.
You're the one who ended it, remember?
Yeah, because I was mad at you, not because I stopped loving you.
Ultimately, the wild behavior of the insanely jealous ex reveals a person who is hurting. Unlike the relatively tame jealous ex who a narrative more often aligns us with, women like Alex Forrest, Amy Dunn, Madison Bell, and Holly Viola are genuine psycho exes. Devious, deceptive,
I don't know any of these names.
bloodthirsty.
Those are just different levels of insanity and jealousy.
Crazy ex-girlfriend is determined to either have the guy all to herself or ruin his life if she can't.
That's what the others did too.
You have to have discipline.
She often lures the unwitting man with the promise of strings-free sex, a cartoonishly heightened version of that faux cool girl, whose casual act gives way to a deadly obsession with possessing the central guy, thus fueling the cliché that all women are secretly desperate for male commitment, no matter what they say. In Fatal Attraction, after
who the hell believes that?
Affair with
All? No one said all.
She calls him at work, stalks him, threatens him.
Look, she is the narrator here. She is emotionally manipulating and deceptive by making these black and white claims, these straw men, all throughout. And it's always in favor of women. Women are always innocent, even the crazies, even the genuine crazies, they're just supposed to tell us that all women are like that. No, nobody ever made that claim. God, what a disgusting woman.
Spoils his daughter's pet
I
rabbit,
wonder what of
abducts
these
his daughter,
insane
and
crimes
tries
she
to
is
murder Dan's
guilty
wife.
of.
Gone Girl's Amy Dunn goes on an equally brutal but much more elaborate rampage after to punish her husband Nick's affair and his plan to divorce her by framing him for her murder, taking on a crazy ex-wife from beyond the grave vibe when he initially thinks she's dead. Amy's thorough dedication to details plays into the idea that crazy exes are master manipulators who play on their ex-lovers' weaknesses to hurt them post-breakup.
They are.
Meticulously stage your crime scene with just enough mistakes to raise the specter of doubt.
That's narcissism, borderline psychopathy, the antisocial personality disorder. They are like that.
Yeah,
there are different levels of this.
No one's taking this to like frame someone for murder to that degree. Not to say they can't, but that's not what we see.
And I'm talking about the movie or reality, Smart?
Yeah, no one's trying to get some elaborate crime scene going where they cover their tracks.
No, Smart, there are people who do that.
Or at least consider
they're
it.
more rare cases, but they exist. Just because you can't comprehend this level of absolute insane evil doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I'm sure it has happened over the years, but like elaborately.
So then you admit that it can exist.
I'm saying, yeah, you could have crazy people, do all kinds of crazy things, but it's like, is that the norm? No.
Well, no one's saying it's
no one said it's the norm. The question is, does it exist or not? And you claimed it doesn't exist.
No.
When it does,
when they say manipulative,
you're making the same mistake that she makes.
No. When they say,
claiming it's an everyone is like that. Nobody said that.
When they say they're manipulative, I my brain, I'm like, okay, you're gonna plan out your own murder to get to someone, like in Gone
Manipulation Girl? has levels of how far it goes.
Yeah, that's
this is top tier. This is hyper top tier madness. That is also very hard to pull off correctly. You need to be hyper competent to pull that off. That's why this is so rare. But the fantasies for this kind of stuff, they exist on lower levels of manipulative behavior, and they don't all engage it because some of them have enough understanding that it probably won't work if I try it.
Yeah, I can't think of any real crime scenario where this actually worked. So.
Just saying, I don't think having fantasies of doing bad things is inherently making you crazy.
No.
Yeah, and
still kind of crazy.
A little crazy, but
just because nobody got away with it doesn't mean that they didn't try. And the thing is, if they got away with it, you wouldn't know about it.
I do believe this one is. She said the guy cheated on her in this video.
In Gone Girl, yeah.
Right here?
Yep.
Ah, okay.
An affair.
It's bad when the guy does it.
A little bad fantasy song, but this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little revenge fantasy, I think, is a bit normal, and just a little bit though.
Planning your own murder is like, okay.
Yeah, this is going too far. Like, oh, I just want to smack him, or oh, I wish I did this because but that's supposed to stay in your head, a fantasy, and you move past it.
Yeah. What baffles me here is that she, the narrator here, she has an extremely detailed understanding of these psycho characters and these essentially these psychological disorders and how they behave. But then she says, oh, they don't actually exist. Like, you have to be utterly relentless and remorseless to speak lies like that. You must have a malicious intent, a malicious interest in telling people in such detail how these things manifest. And there's tons of books written about this over the years. And then say, oh, it's actually not real, and we should just have compassion for these women, and always side with the women. Like this is evil. Hawk will probably be mad at me maybe when I say that again, but what she's doing here, the take woman, that is evil.
Yeah, if he committed adultery, that's a crime. She could just take this to court.
And I'm pretty sure at this point, when she goes to this length to deny this stuff being relevant and harmful and malicious and real, she's probably guilty of at least some of this behavior, at least on the lower levels.
Okay.
Stories like Fatal Attraction and Gone Girl, an affair, emotional callousness, and terrible behavior by the guy spark the woman's fury, in light of which Fatal Attraction's depiction of Alex as an unstoppable psychotic force was met with criticisms from feminist writers. But this character's just causes for rage are overshadowed by her extreme violent overreactions, making her the gold standard archetype of the irrational, jealous, dangerous ex that both men and women are conditioned to condemn and avoid.
I just want to be a part of your life.
Should we not condemn women like this?
Gone Girl examines this situation through Amy's perspective and actually originated the modern discussion of the cool girl act, specifically to explain why Amy goes off the deep end after her years of trying to embody her husband's fantasies just led to him trading her for a younger woman.
And found himself a newer, younger, bouncier cool girl.
I don't think it's just because of that. I think it's because you were not authentic. And the younger girl, which is the young is probably a bonus in that case, is probably more authentic, is her real self all the time. While this that she calls the cool act, which we know as the fake fan, for example, is false advertisement.
Yeah, this is, as I said before, it's like an extension of that previous video they did about the cool girl. They're just twisting it another way. It's like, oh, well, that's their interpretation. But really, it's all about this fake thing called a crazy ex-girlfriend. They don't really exist.
Yeah, because if you have to twist yourself into an image of the guy you want to impress all the time, to be with him, then you're not yourself, and the guy will eventually catch on and think, I've been deceived. You are not actually the person I thought I got together with. So why am I together with you?
In a way, it's a bit sad, when someone twists themselves to fake who they are. You should find someone that loves you, not a false image of you.
Yeah, and you can't blame the person you're interested in for not liking you the way you are, because that just means you're not made for each other.
Okay.
It's in large part because of the persistence of stereotypes like the crazy ex-girlfriend that many women try to present themselves as her opposite, the cool girl, an exhausting performance that can lead them to tolerate mistreatment or repress legitimate anger during the relationship or as it's ending. And ironically, this may make it harder to process the usual breakup feelings in a healthy way and lead to more dramatic, crazy outbursts of pent-up emotion. The crazy in a fun way ex, frequently seen in
just her own
comedies,
fault.
is super
It's
bad
never
for her
fun.
ex-man, but he can't
Yeah.
stay away. Toxic yet intoxicating.
Just need a second, it's Jane.
Oh, Borderlands
How about I
also
go?
like to play the fun girl.
We broke up. Oh, we're back on.
In Parks and Recreation, the only threat to
God, I
Ron
hate it. This is-
Swanson's stiff upper lip is his smart, sexy, and seductive ex-wife, Tammy. And though she's not a crazy ex, Claire from 30 Rock only needs one hookup in a few hours to set the fiercely independent business mastermind Jack Donaghy on a roller coaster she's driving.
Maybe Claire's right. Maybe if we have a baby together, things will calm down. I can't help it. I'm under a lot of pressure, and Claire is my escape. She is like a drug. I crave her all the time, even though she's bad for me.
The fun crazy ex may appear like just a wacky stock character,
Comedy.
but the way she strips males of their power goes back to the idea that women gain power and prestige through snapping up high-status men and blinding them with sex and mind games.
That is
Ted
literally
Lasso
what they
offers
do.
an update to this type in Jane, Coach Beard's constantly on-again, off-again girlfriend who sounds like that demanding, erratic, toxic presence.
Oh shit. 2 missed calls from her. You're a net!
But once we
Quiet.
actually get to see her with Coach Beard, is clearly the love of his life in a relationship that may be unconventional but works for them. All the crazy ex-girlfriend examples who are framed as one-dimensional tropes are actually being misunderstood by the audience. This intentional misrepresentation also extends to real life.
Oh,
Journalist
boy.
Vicky Spratt wrote in Refinery 29 that even Princess Diana was, in media treatment of her time, a particularly notable example of the crazy ex-trope.
Are you what?
What? What?
How?
What? What?
Never heard of this.
She got divorced.
I also never heard of this.
She never
She had
pined for Prince. And what was it? Prince? What's his name? Prince Charles.
Charles.
Yeah, she never pined for him.
Charles.
Prince Doofus.
Like she had to do with the shenanigans of the royal family.
Yeah.
Whatever happened there, I have no idea. I
Yeah.
was too young to care about this shit.
None of our business. Who cares?
That was also that was a very selective video right there. It made it look all sinister.
I've never heard of this.
I think she's just bringing up Diana because this is someone everyone liked. So she can now feed us the narrative she's built up with an actually sympathetic woman.
Diana, Princess of
I think
Wales,
that's- I think
source
that's the trick
unknown,
here.
June
This whole
1995.
video,
We're not sure where this is from.
This whole video has been nothing but deception and manipulation. This woman knows what she's talking about in regards to all the psychological stuff. I'm pretty sure of that. But she is completely lying to the audience as to why these women are the way they are and what we should do in regards to that, how we should react to that. She's just playing the pity game of subject yourself to every woman's whim.
Okay.
And that is abuse.
I really want to know where they're going with Diana. That's hilarious.
Good, we didn't miss this.
She was regularly dismissed as bonkers for doing things like calling out the royal family or
What?
her ex-husband on
Does
national
that have
TV
to do with
because
anything?
he had an affair.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
To this day, this type of portrait can be used to discredit women in political and professional spheres. Intelligencer wrote that Stephanie Grisham's publishing a tell-all about the Trump White House led to statements by Donald and Melania Trump and a
Oh my
whisper
God.
campaign from their allies that
How
made
did you
Grisham out to
manage
be
to
like
put
a crazy
Trump into
ex-girlfriend
this?
who never had any power to begin with. In fiction,
What?
this type of male power play is explored in works like The Girl on the Train, where the spoiler alert plot twist of the movie is that the female protagonist had been gaslit by her husband into thinking she was a hopeless, violent alcoholic.
You told me I got you fired.
Oh yeah, and as we've noticed, it's only bad when the man gaslights the woman. When the woman gaslights the man, that's just an evil trope. But the man gaslighting the woman, that's not a trope.
What the hell
that's
was-
not fiction. That's not made up.
Was-
That is, the man has no reason to do any of this. If this relationship was reversed, the sexes as well, she would make excuses for, in this case here, the man, and condemn the woman. She would make excuses for the man having reasons to do this, and we should pity him if the sexes were reversed.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around Stephanie Grisham's book about her was she the third wheel? Like what the hell what is she getting? What was the point of that scene with Trump? My brain is like,
I don't know. Trump derangement system. Oh man, you just gotta put him in there.
They put so much slander out and lies about this man that I don't care about new things that come out about him.
Yeah, there was so many.
You lied too much. You cried wolf too much. I don't give a shit.
There were so many people in the White House with the Trump presidency that it's like you did your job, you did what you had to do. You're done. We don't need you anymore, or you're not as dedicated as we thought you were. Like that happens all the time. What's the problem?
And women coming out with slanderous stories after they've been fired or dumped about sex escapades or stuff. That's sadly a very common thing, and that's made up things. I mean, it can be true, but very often they're made up. Most of the Me Too stuff is made up, as it turned out. The founders of the Me Too shit turned out made up.
Yeah, I think the first woman was real, but the rest were fake.
Yeah,
the first two that initiated it was slanderous, made up crap.
I'm under the impression that everyone in the White House or the West Wing had their role, and if they screwed up or didn't act the way they should or behave or do the job they were supposed to, they got fired, which is what people in power do with people who aren't doing what they want. They say, hey, you're not doing your job, you're gone. That's it. I don't care how, I don't care why. If you screwed up or whatever, there's always someone to replace you. So if you're not perfect, hey, you know what? If you're the leader of the free world, he has that right to fire a guy who's not perfect for the job. That's all.
Who screwed up too big.
Presidents do this all the time.
And you need to.
It's not
in
just
that position. You need to.
Especially presidents. But this happens in life. Like, oh, you didn't do the thing I wanted you to do. Why are you still here? Either do it or you're gone. And if you screw up again, you're gone. So it's like this is normal.
Like, you had one job.
Imagine this is a big company. You're the CEO, and you have some very important positions right beneath you, and one of them screws up constantly, but is a woman. And if you let that, because she's a woman, let her get away with it time and time again, she's gonna screw up again. You can predict it at that point. There's lots of money getting lost because of that, and that means money that salaries are paid with. That means lives. Because if she keeps screwing up, you will have to fire people that are not her on lower ranks. And that is her fault. Well, it's also your fault for not firing her instead. Finding someone better.
Yeah.
So it's on both of you.
Okay, anyway.
But I didn't.
You were fired because you were everyone in the office!
And all these examples illustrate how impressions are completely shaped by how writers or real people frame women in a certain light to make their responses to situations seem crazy. In Friends, Janice Littman is Chandler's annoying...
Yeah, because we've never seen that with men in fiction. They never are crazy.
Yeah. It's always the women...
When men are crazy in fiction, then they are actually crazy.
Yeah, look at the Joker.
Oddly, how women are interested in family life and relationships. Why would that be? I don't know.
I want you to pay particular attention to the background music she overlaid this with right now.
What?
Well, we need to hit play.
Bearing and crazy ex, reviled by all of his friends. But in the earlier seasons, he
not the
uses
stuff
her,
now. She had
toys
the
with her, dumps
super
her
creepy
repeatedly,
music
and
on.
generally just treats her horribly.
One of these times, it's just gonna be your last chance with me.
Even if the women handle a breakup really well, sexist ideas about female emotions still haunt how their behavior is interpreted.
Barney, I just want you to know I have no hard feelings. It wasn't the best idea for us to get involved. I hope we can still be friends.
She's gonna try to kill me.
So can ex-girlfriends ever really win?
It's possible.
And how are the emotions of
It
male
was a damn
boyfriends and
comedy.
exes dealt with
You
in
not know what
film
comedy
and
is.
Here we
As
go.
much space as the crazy
Now it's
ex-girlfriend
gonna get
takes up in
interesting.
Hollywood scripts and in the public consciousness, realistically, women are at far greater risk of being assaulted or harmed by a crazy ex-boyfriend. From Henry VIII's
Really?
murdering two of his
I don't think that's
wives,
true.
to countless headlines and true crime shows detailing the
I told you. I told you. When it's crazy men in fiction, it's the real deal. My God. And she's bringing up true crime. She's not watching a lot of true crime if she ignores all the crazy psycho women that try to frame their husbands for murder or even try to murder them and so on.
Spousal abuse in the United States, I don't know about other country, it's actually 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
But despite that, there's little to no male shelters for men who are the victims of spousal abuse.
Yeah, I think there's 2 right now in the United States.
Another
I'm
thing
not
is,
sure.
we have a current law of 2 laws. They affect one another. I forget what they're called, but one is that if a victim of if someone is calling the police for domestic abuse, there has to be an arrest.
Oh yeah, that's I forgot the name. It's some stupid name. And I wanted to implement that in Europe as well, European countries.
And another thing is,
horrible.
it is to be assumed that the person who is larger and stronger should automatically be assumed to be the abuser if a call is made. Which, obviously,
it's retarded.
Will be the man.
Yeah, and so even if you are being if you are being abused, the police will, under these laws, will take you to the police and leave the abusive woman at home.
Yeah, but this is just cherry picking at this point. It's like, hey, in reality,
no, that's not cherry picking.
Well, yeah, but
that's
look,
not cherry picking.
We
that is real life shit that's going on.
No. We went from the topic of crazy ex-girlfriends and stories, and now, but you know what? Here are men in reality, and you're like, okay, yes.
She's always cherry picking. And if we look about child abuse statistics, I think it's 60% of all child abuse is the mother alone. The mother also comes up again in other categories where she's doing it with someone together, but 60% is solely the mother.
Well, the topic of relationships coming together and breaking up is fairly common in most stories anyway. So it doesn't really matter in what context that is unless it's related to the plots or related to a character study or, I don't know, a period piece where you have a marriage that was improperly formed. That could be rather important to the story. But this is common in life. This is common in stories. And you could argue the probability or the greater men do bad things in relationships than women or whatever. That's fine. But to say that the trope or the pattern or the stereotype is wrong, that doesn't make sense because it wouldn't exist if it wasn't talked about in stories. We don't just invent patterns in stories and just run with them because we like them. We do that because we have something to say about it. We have characters who want to express themselves in a certain way.
Oh, if we look at if we look at all the social justice creations in US comics, they are making up shit that has nothing to do with reality. They're just having the power fantasies in there that don't work in reality.
The New Warriors.
Oh yeah, that never came out.
Snowflake in safe space.
Yeah. But what I find so absolutely vile here is that it really is, and it is so predictable.
Yeah. So
that it really is. All crazy girlfriend stuff is either made up, exaggerated, or we should have compassion for them. While when it's the crazy men, they're bad, they're evil, and they exist, and women most affected.
Yeah, so I think if we look back to the trope, I don't know if this is true, but it probably has a parent trope, which just means people are bad with rejection. And there's all kinds of examples in Western and Japanese comics as well of how this plays out. Because if you talk about Japanese comics, they have these tropes narrowed down to specific Japanese names. So the kind of girlfriend who is, dominant or passive or aggressive, like it's all these nuances of interpersonal relationships. So this is normal.
And short version of this is crazy ex-boyfriend, woman is the victim. Crazy ex-girlfriend, woman is the victim.
All right, we're almost done.
Yeah.
horrible deeds of vengeful men, the aggressive, unhinged ex-boyfriend is a very real phenomenon. For women in abusive relationships deciding to...
Okay, so when men do it, it's real. When women do it, no, it's manufactured. It's not real.
That's what I've been saying. And that's got to be her point.
Holy hell.
This is an abusive, gaslighting psycho.
The message
you have to be insane or evil or both
Yeah, I wonder,
have this position that she is perpetuating here.
Yeah, I wonder why there's more, like there are tropes for men, of course, but there's more tropes for women of this kind of behavior than men. Why is that? Gee, maybe reality's like that? I don't know. Possibly. Not necessarily.
You know, if you read books about abusive relationships, about narcissism and its various forms, for example, about gaslighting, the stories within are very equal representations of the sexes. It's very 50-50. Because both sexes do it. And they do it often in similar ways.
Yeah, and I think
it's just that the women are less able for the physical violence, but the psychological violence both sexes do en masse.
Right, and
it is absolutely mind-boggling. The stories that happen.
Yeah, and the stories that women like reading or watching are related or surround relationships in general, whether they're Harlequin romance or Hallmark movies or whatever. They're just more interested in that. So it's more interesting to have women behaving in these bad ways because you can't have a bunch of angels running around and everyone just gets along at the end. That's not a very interesting story. You need some conflict. You need some crazy ex who wants to get back with you. They're always in the background and you have to work on this man. He's not good enough for you. Maybe you should reject him if he's still seeing that ex. You know, it's like all these other forms of conflict you could think of.
You know what story I rarely have encountered? Where the main character is the girlfriend, the new girlfriend of the guy, and she has to fend off the crazy ex-girlfriend of the guy and has to go through the psychological or even physical abuse of the crazy ex of her relationship. That story I cannot even think of a single example, even without a name. I cannot think of a single example where that has ever happened. I don't think that's something that's being written. Or it's so niche that doesn't get any presence. Maybe no one's interested in it. I don't know.
There's all kinds of movies that I don't know that this is such a specific.
I'm just saying I'm not aware of that kind of story being out there. But these kinds of stories, they're everywhere.
Yeah. All right. How much we got left? We got 2 minutes.
Almost done.
Become an ex is perhaps the greatest risk to their safety.
Why doesn't she just leave? It's incredibly dangerous to leave an abuser.
Oh,
Because the
TED Talk.
final step in the domestic violence pattern is kill her.
Both the crazy ex-girlfriend's and boyfriend's actions are guided by misplaced ideas about love and relationships that don't match reality. But the ex-boyfriend or husband's aggression represents a grave actual danger to the woman. The
can we
crazy
pause for 1
ex-girlfriend
second?
is a manufactured or imagined threat.
I was going to say that for women in the United States, I do believe a large portion when they're murdered, it usually is a loved one. So I think this is where she's getting the conflation, that it's more dangerous for women than it is for men.
I guess. I'm not sure where she's getting it, but
it's just interesting how she was saying it's always just the woman is always a victim. That's all. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's the United States. If you have guns in the house, you have a pretty good equalizer for ending the relationship in a violent way.
Unless you live in one of the Democrat states where you're not allowed to have even a gun in your house.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, most divorces don't happen in violent standoffs. It's just like, okay, you know what? It's time to go. And it takes months, and they figure stuff out. And that's that. It's very straightforward. And it just, takes time.
Yeah, mature people can do that.
Yeah.
But we're talking about insane people. They are emotionally
insane people are more interesting to watch and read about. So
Yes, they are also more interesting.
Yeah, and aggressive and conniving, and that's why we like stories like them. So I don't know why they think it's manufactured. I still I can't wrap my brain around it.
Because this woman herself is a narcissist. She has to. So all grifter. So she's probably both.
Yeah.
She has, as I explained in the beginning, what I've seen narcissists do a lot is excuse and justify the behavior of people like them and people who commit the same malicious behavior as them, same bad behavior as them, so that they will gaslight you about that being either good behavior, you're misinterpreting it, you're misremembering it, it's actually good behavior, it's justified behavior, but if it is done to them, the same behavior is bad behavior. Then it is bad behavior. So in this here, we have the dynamic between men and women. She is a woman. Therefore, all the stuff done to women is bad. All the stuff done to men is excusable and justified because she is probably doing it herself within her own family. That means psychologically manipulative, abusive behavior.
And I do believe the reason why women, if they're can be killed by partners more likely, just women usually don't have very dangerous lives. So it just increases the likelihood of that being what kills them, rather than, I don't know, just a random stranger. Never mind.
Yeah, this is interpersonal relationships. They get messy very quickly. So, anyway.
Threat, a trope based on sexist ideas of the female mental state, patriarchal marriage practices, and written into popular movies for the sake of drama by men who can't see past their own...
Jane Eyre was written by a woman.
Said men. Like men.
These classic romance stories were written by women.
That is some prime projection. Bloody hell. Sorry, I'm talked over you.
These stories originally, like these romance stories and great American novels, were written by women, about women, like Jane Eyre, which she brought up. And then she brought up the prequel made by a fan 100 years later from a feminist, post-colonial, postmodern perspective. Wow. I'm surprised she liked that one better.
Fuck.
Self-centered point of view. This may explain why feminist reimaginings of classic texts and the music of Taylor Swift and Olivia Rodrigo...
It's because feminists are insane and are actually narcissistic and self-centered, like you are. Because you are mentally insane.
Because the artists I like are more aligned with my ideas, they're better. Like, wow. Thanks.
Rodrigo resonate with so many women.
So do the classic literature of Jane Eyre for 150 odd years.
I resonates with so many women because your stupid ideology and your gaslighting of your audience here keeps them emotionally immature.
Yeah, who's gonna
that they will retain narcissistic behavior and thought patterns and a low-level consciousness.
I was like, just because it's
you're creating this.
Who's going to remember watching Gone Girl in another 50 years and go, wow, Rosamund Pike, what a depiction, that was so realistic. It's like, okay, yeah, sure.
Because I always like they're fixing the past. Anything.
Yeah. Well, she benefits from it. It's like a perpetuating machine. Self-perpetuating machine here.
Yeah.
It's narcissistic content made for narcissists that keeps the next generation narcissistic, so that it will also consume this stuff and never grow up and be psychologically, emotionally abusive and entitled like no other.
When we look back at Ben Affleck, we're gonna you know what, his performance in Gone Girl, that was the height of his career. He really set the stage. No one's going to talk. What was that Ben Batflick thing? What the hell is that all about? There are other things in his career we care about than this random movie about this psychotic woman planning her own death. It's like, what?
I have never seen, in history, as far as I'm aware, never seen an ideology or culture that is so exploitative of vulnerable people and deliberately creating more than all this stuff where this sort of feminism is born from, and the social justice stuff behind it.
Like it's
is
one thing.
Absolutely, that's why I call it evil.
Yeah.
Because it deliberately not just exploits vulnerable people, it also deliberately creates them.
It's one thing to have a lens which is, feministic or postmodern or whatever lens you want to use to interpret a specific story. That's fine. You could use whatever lens you like. This is taking a very 1,000-yard stare at like movies and TV and just in general, and going, look at this pattern we had since 1850 or whatever, when Jane Eyre came out, and look at it now. Like it's still there. You're like, yeah, why do you think that is? Because women haven't changed much and men haven't changed much, and we're all pretty much the same mammals we've been for thousands of years. Why is that? And we're just cataloging it and describing the pattern and, looking at this interpretation of if she was this crazy or if he was that nuts, this could happen in a relationship. Sure, it could. But that's what fiction is great for. It gives you a different perspective on a thing that everyone knows has some connection to. Jealousy or anxiety or love or hate. This is one way to play out those emotions. And to say it doesn't exist or it's fake, it's manufactured, is like, yes, it's fictional in the story, but it's based on something in reality. And it goes for both sides.
Men bad, women victims.
I don't know. It's strange. See, this is when you use the lens for the improper application. Because I have nothing against...
This is not even a valid lens.
Well, I don't even know what lens it is exactly.
The feminist lens is not a valid lens.
Whoa.
It is deliberately distorting reality.
I'm not going to say the feminist lens is bad. I think her use of the lens is bad, or the lens itself, because she's not just feminist. She's like the next step. Like,
this is feminist. This is the feminist lens.
No. We could say
this is not the next step. This is what it always was.
No. We could say Jordan Peterson was a feminist, and all these other academics are feminists, and they don't take it to ridiculous levels. So,
what about the feminists in Islamic nations? Are they feminists, Wes?
There are grades of feminism.
Okay.
There's like fourth wave and third wave and all these other postmodern interpretations.
This type of I have to rectify. This type of I make the difference between women's rights advocate, which is what describes the feminists in the Islamic world much better. And I think lots of people falsely call themselves feminists because they don't know what's behind that. Because the white feather movement before around World War I, that was essentially feminist. That was run by these types of insane women with narcissistic and borderline personality disorder. And you had the same thing then in the 60s, 70s, infiltrated and captured by socialist activists. And I think Gloria Steinem admitted to that later on, or at least with her CIA involvement. And Erin Prizzi, who invented and founded the first women's shelters. And she also tells of this, that shortly after, the socialists with their crazy feminist ideology basically took over. They were highly organized, and they took over this entire idea, built their own networks of it. And while Erin Prizzi herself understood that you need to involve the whole family, including with the husbands, with the fathers, and with the children, the crazy feminists quickly went to, we'll just make this about man hatred, women always victims, no matter what happened, no matter who did what. And boys, depending on where it was, ages 8 or 12 and above, would be excluded from the women's shelter. If the kid was a boy of 8 years or older, he would not be allowed in a women's shelter. That was what the socialists did, the feminists. And that's why I'm saying the actual feminists are different from the women's rights advocates. And many people still call themselves feminists. Personally, I say falsely. And I don't think you can salvage the term feminism. because it will always be associated with these horrible people that are just driven by man hatred and women victims.
In this case, it's about media, so it's kind of interpretive in the first place. So I could look at it and say, is this really the feminist lens? And in some flavor, but it's just used improperly. Because I've done analysis with lenses where you're talking about, romance novels or Harlequin romance or whatever. And we use that to say, okay, what is the power struggle with men and women here? What is it really about? And that is a feminist lens. You say, okay, this is what the women are wanting, and this is what the men are wanting, and this is the conflict, and this is the resolution. So you can take away and strip away.
The feminist lens is full of shit. It's lies.
Well, nowadays it's lies, but if you study literature,
it's been a lies in the 60s.
Well, I don't know exactly. I wasn't there. So I'm just saying, you use lenses for specific
read up on
reasons.
What they said in the 60s and what the ideas were in the 60s and 70s and so on.
Right.
And this is something that I didn't know. Tyler Preston said in the chat that they killed Prizzy's dog simply for saying that men too can be victims of domestic violence by women. That's that's a long time ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And Prizzy was a feminist, I do believe.
Yes. She called herself that. I don't know if she still does, but she is aware of the difference of feminism and women's rights, I think.
Yeah. So again, there's good and bad flavors.
Wonderful interviews.
There's good and bad people in every organization, as I said before in a previous video, in a different context. It's just in what extreme view do you take this idea? And it's in fiction, as we've seen with comic books. It's in movies and TV shows and interpretations and adaptations. And that's the problem we're facing now, because people are overstepping their ideology that should exist in the mind, not in reality. Okay, anyway, we're almost done.
Their songs don't shy away from the intense emotions women feel during breakups, but flip the familiar script by not giving the guy the last word. Instead, lending the emotional, crazy ex-girlfriend a real voice with nuance and without any shame about what she's felt.
It's a music video.
writing songs about douchebags who cheat on me.
In past eras, a character like Morello would have been framed as just another Fatal Attraction copy, just as Christopher paints her. But today's stories are increasingly reflecting our interest in better understanding the complex mental health problems that underlie her destructive behavior. And recent female characters like Rebecca and Alexis from Schitt's Creek have shown us how a struggle with jealousy and negative thought patterns can be a catalyst for self-improvement. These more realistic depictions offer
and that's fine, but there's also nothing wrong with the other example of them having breakdowns and having horrible endings in a story. So why is that bad? I don't see the reason.
Yeah, because you look at that and think, I don't want to be like that. That's a shitty person. I don't want to be a shitty person. Isn't that enough for you? Or do you really need to have this played out for you on the screen in full completion because you can't think for yourself at all?
Forget the whole topic of women this or that. Just having sad or bad endings is like normal in storytelling. So why can't we depict that in a logical conclusion where a person who has mental issues, does bad things, destroys their life, the end? Like, what's wrong with that setup? I don't see the problem with telling that kind of story. Oh, but if it's a woman doing it, you can't do it? Like, why? It's kind of silly. We can never depict women as being bad or evil or...
Why? Because Me Too.
I don't know. This is weird setup you can't do anymore. Anyway.
Respect and understanding to the people on both sides of difficult relationship trials, and make it abundantly clear that the crazy ex-girlfriend has just been in our heads this whole time.
Those terrible things, I didn't do any of them.
No, it's real.
It made me think that
it's very real
was
and
my
it's very
fault.
dangerous.
This is the take.
I think we could say crazy people in general are real. It doesn't matter if they're girlfriends or boyfriends. It's just like, it's so ubiquitous to say, oh, well, this never existed. It's like, you just showed us.
Is that the woman who just talk all the time?
That's one of them.
What do you think those books in the back are about?
I can't.
Judaism, Hinduism, Catholicism, Islam, Protestantism. And we have
also all studies of sociology, whether it's religion or culture.
Oh wow, she has a what is it? I have it here. John Ronson book. That should be. So you've been publicly shamed? No, it's the psychopath test. She has the psychopath test on her shelf.
Yay!
That explains where she got the knowledge from. And honestly, that makeup doesn't work for you, girl.
Yeah, something's up with the eyeliner.
Don't do the lower lid so deep. It looks horrid on you. It makes you look like the crazy girlfriend.
Oh my God, I love it when Whisp just starts shaming people for their looks.
Hey, I'm allowed to do that now.
Oh, really?
Girls do that to each other all the time. Have you never sat down with girls?
Smud was making fun of the girls' teeth. You guys are
Well,
so mean.
okay, that's dentistry. That has nothing to do with how they makeup. It's not
Smart, never go to a British pub.
You cannot chew you cannot chew food with a giant gap between your incisors. Or your bicuspids, whatever they're called. Sorry.
Why do you hate Jay Longbone?
I don't hate her. I just think she doesn't look that good with a big gap between her teeth.
That's racist.
Meanwhile, I'm just seeing this comment in the chat. The Sean Connery Center for Domestic Abuse.
Oh.
But smart, you just sit down in a pub at a table with a lot of women on them and just don't say much, just nod and smile, and they will start bitching about other women and how they look all the time. It doesn't end.
I've gone to pubs.
because no means no.
I know the drill. Yeah, I've been there. It's fun. It's
and then they will swoon over other guys in the pub while they are in relationships, in solid relationships themselves. But they will swoon over other guys. Like, oh god. But they're a guy, the guy they are with in a relationship. Look at another girl in the pub. So this is so. It's not just stereotypical. It is a hard pattern, and it is so hypocritical. It is unbelievable.
Anyway, let's listen to these two women say how great they are.
On your favorite movies, shows, and pop culture.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.
Ugh. She looks like a controlling mom.
God.
All right, we're done.
These women are horrible.
We're good.
Tangle, how girls get gaslight?
I don't know. We have no... Oh, we do have memes, damn it.
Oh, no.
Hey, the memes are better than the video.
Wait a second. Someone just put comments from the video. I'm not going to read those. Come on. I hate doing that.
Video editor. Okay, so
all right.
The narrator was some. This makes no sense. These credits make no sense.
I don't want to read all that out. That's a lot to read out. Let me just go to the memes. What do I want to fight about today? Crazy girlfriends be like, tag Bay?
At Hoodmon.
What does that mean?
Okay.
Comments from the video. I'll read that later.
I'm pregnant. Now you'll have to love me forever.
No, that just means I can leave you and you have the abortion.
Who the hell is Alarm? And why is she texting you at 7 a.m. every morning?
Yeah!
Have you seen Female Rage call one in her Gone Girl?
Why you root for Gone Girl's Amy Dunn? Okay.
Really?
How about no?
1 year ago from the take. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, they really liked that movie. Holy jeez. Talk about it so much. The Take's video in a nutshell. 3 seconds. Here's Mark. Thanks, Mark.
I don't care. Nobody cares.
That's great.
It sums up the whole video.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here's a video of Western Howler. Okay, let me just play it. When you have a dream.
I've never seen somebody that's looked at their arm and thought, God, propeller. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen someone that looked at their arm and said, ceiling fan, but make it Beyblade. You know what I'm saying? The thing, how you can fight 4 people at one time whilst reading this tiny book all at once. You broke your arm. The doctor walked in. He was real busy and just said, ice and then left. That's why your arm's able to do that, right? You can. I don't know, if you hit your boyfriend while he's sleeping, he's gonna wake up, not look for one person, he's gonna be looking for 4 people and an octopus with a baseball bat. If you're ever in a helicopter crash and you just stick that up there and start flipping, you can literally go to safety back home to Delaware. Where are you from? I don't know you. I don't know if I want to.
Okay. Helicopter punches from girls. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Here's the takes role model. That's a nice bed you have. Oh.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry, what?
For me to poop on.
That is Johnny Depp's wife.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
the crazy woman that cut off his finger and shat on his bed, and then claims to be the victim.
See, that's
I
actually
didn't know about the
a quote
fishing.
from the Triumph the Dog sketch thing. That's his line.
That woman is a proper psychopath.
She's interesting, that's for sure. But that's what we like reading about those stories, even if they're
I don't know. I don't.
Well, even if they're in the tabloids, it's the same thing. It's still reading.
Yeah, I don't read tabloids.
The news, then, how's that?
I'm just devastated that this poor man has to go through that, and even gets his life destroyed in part, and roles cancelled, and is being erased from the ones that he's been on, where they do reshoots, just because this crazy everybody sides with the obvious abusive, crazy, sadistic psychopath.
Anyway, guys,
on principle, they side with her on principle.
If you want to check out those comments that who was it posted in the meme channel to read them yourself, go right ahead. I'm not going to do it. It's going to take too long. So I have to go prepare a meal for tomorrow, so I have to get going. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have yourself a great evening. I'm not sure what we're doing tomorrow. I was not expecting to go on stream today, but this happened.
If we're lucky, Superman with bears.
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We're not sure yet.
I will try to join for that one.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Keep the suggestions coming, the suggestions channel, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.